Meena's Muknayak recently won an Excellence in Journalism Award for Human Rights and Religious Freedom or Freedom Journalism for her exceptional work done for raising voices and awareness for social issues of underprivileged. Meena has been awardee for various different awards, including Ladli. Welcome, Meena. It is indeed a great voice to have her here. And I would like to introduce myself now. So my name is Dipali Desai, and I lead public relations and communications for Breakthrough. I'm a former journalist, having worked with Times Now, NDTV, and NewsX. I've given myself almost 10 years in Indian television media, and then took a conscious decision to shift towards development sector to pursue my passion for media and gender. And I have worked over the 12 years of experience, professional experience. I have worked in Delhi, Mumbai. I started my career in Bangalore. I've also worked in Goa, being a Goan. I have also led television channels, local channels. And through my different work in development sectors, I've worked in parts of Bihar, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, and I'm very excited to work in Odisha. I have worked on campaigns focusing on school dropouts, gender empowerment, skill development, sustainable entrepreneurship in rural India. And currently, I'm leading a media fellowship program in Breakthrough. We are introducing gender curriculum for media, the current professional journalists. It's a 9-month long fellowship program, and we aspire to make them more gender sensitized. So with this, I would like to invite Professor Usha Rani to start the opening remarks of the chairman. You can take up the mic from there, sir. Please stay tuned for the panel.
Good morning to all of you. I extend a very warm welcome to this last session of Media Conclave. We have come to the end of today is the last day of the Media Conclave. But as part of the convention, uh, Media Conclave has devoted exclusive, session on media and gender, so which is a very vital subject. As a result, we have this discussion. We are going to have a discussion on the most burning issue of our times, and I'm happy and I'm honored to chair this session. I have a very eminent panelist with me, and each one is going to speak for 10 to 15 to 12 minutes, and then the session will be open for the questions, comments, and discussion. Okay? And before that, I just would like to give a couple of remarks, opening remarks for 2 minutes. As all of you know, this is being discussed under the broad topic of media and culture. And women are surrounded by three very important social institutions. One is religion, the other is media, and the third one is culture. All three social institutions target women, and they influence the behavior, and they set the cultural norms, they set the gender norms in each of these social institutions. Now a word about the Indian society. What kind of society we live in? It's a patriarchal society, a male-dominated society, where there is inequitable justice to women. So it is not a level playing field for women. Though Constitution has given us equal rights, it is not so in practice, because we cite religion, we take the help of culture, and who frames culture? It is a patriarchal society. Whether you want to enter a temple or a masjid, you need to take permission from these, the social, so-called social institutions. They are setting the gender norms. In these circumstances, and we have come across, the recently we have come across many issues from Arushi to Nirbhaya to Hathras and to the latest Shraddha. Media has shamed us, shamed the society. So this is where it hasn't changed. Even today, this media representation of gender roles hasn't changed. So this is with these opening remarks, I will invite my panelists, one after the other, to make the presentation. And you will get time for your comments, for giving your comments or asking questions. Thank you. Now, I hand over to Bali. He's also the moderator.
Am I audible? Uh, so we are not doing this as a panel discussion, but since all of our guests here have their own sort of a genre, we would like to start with Meena. मीना आज का अगर मीडिया देखा जाए तो एक तरह से एक तरफा लगता है ना? तो क्या आपको लगता है कि इस मीडिया में कहीं ना कहीं डाइवर्जन और इंक्लूजन की कमी है? आपका खुद का आपने जो मुखनायक भी शुरू किया तो एक कुछ मैसेजिंग ध्यान में रखते हुए किया होगा, कुछ छूट रहा था मीडिया से शायद और इसी वजह से आपने शुरू किया. क्या आपको लगता है कि is media been able to tackle that kind of a social norm? Is media inclusive? Do you see diversity in media? What does your experience say? In terms of gender especially, gender social norms.
So you identify a couple of areas
Thank you, Bobby, and thank you, Vic, to National Media Conclave. मैं भी उड़ीसा पहली बार आई और मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है कि मुझे यहाँ आकर अपनी बात रखने का मौका मिल रहा है. जैसा आपने बताया दीपाली कि जब हम डाइवर्सिटी की बात करते हैं, इंक्लूसिव की बात करते हैं, तो मीडिया मतलब वैसे तो सभी चीज में ऐसा है कि कहीं पर भी डाइवर्सिटी नहीं होती है आसानी से, खासकर इंडिया में मैं अगर बात करूँ, क्योंकि हम लोग ऐसे देश में रहते हैं जहाँ अलग अलग भाषाएं हैं और अलग अलग कल्चर है, यहाँ पर अलग अलग नीतियां हैं, अलग अलग हैं, और हमको जब तक हम सबको शामिल नहीं करेंगे तब हम डाइवर्सिटी और इंक्लूजन की बात नहीं कर सकते इनके बिना. लेकिन यहाँ पर क्या होता है, मैं खुद मतलब मैं जर्नलिस्ट हूँ और मैं मीडिया से जुड़ी हुई हूँ, तो हम लोग यहाँ सिर्फ मीडिया की बात करते हैं. तो मीडिया में देखा गया है कि तमाम रिपोर्ट्स भी कहती हैं और ऐसा मतलब हुआ है आजादी के बाद भी. आप अगर आप देखें आज तक कोई भी दलित आदिवासी जर्नलिस्ट जो है एडिटर पोस्ट पर नहीं पहुंचा. ये बहुत ही शर्मिंदगी वाली बात है. मीडिया की हम लोग बात करें क्योंकि मीडिया एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म है जहां पर आपको सब तरह के लोगों की बात करनी होगी. आपको यहाँ पर अपना धर्म, अपनी जाति हर तरह से पीछे छोड़ना पड़ेगा. यहाँ पर आपको इंसानियत की बात करनी होगी, तभी आप जो है सामने का मुद्दा उठा सकते हैं, हर तरह की बात कर सकते हैं. लेकिन मीडिया में भी ऐसा नहीं होता है. मीडिया में भी अभी तक एक ही तरह के लोग भरे हुए हैं. एडिटोरियल पोस्ट हम लोग देखते हैं, और अगर छोटे मोटी जगह पे भी देखें, जैसे आप यहाँ के लोग हैं या और भी जैसे जर्नलिज्म के बहुत सारे इंस्टीट्यूट हैं, बहुत सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज हैं, लेकिन बच्चे वहां तक पहुंचते तो हैं, वहां पे पढ़ाई करने तो बहुत है, लेकिन वो जाते कहाँ हैं? इस सवाल का जवाब कभी नहीं मिल पाता है. तो कौन सा मीडिया में अपनी जॉब करने जाते हैं, सिर्फ पढ़ाई करने के लिए तो कोई नहीं. वो सबका एक सपना है कि वो माफी चाहूंगी जी. हम बात करें थे जब हम मीडिया की बात करें, तो मीडिया में जब हम लोग बात करते हैं तो सिर्फ एक ही तरह के लोग होते हैं, सिर्फ एक ही तरह की सोच होती है. और आप देखिए कि मीडिया में कौन लोग बने हुए हैं, कौन लोग बने हुए हैं और किस तरह के लोग बने हैं, किस तरह की स्टोरीज करते हैं. मैं जब एमपी कर रही थी, क्योंकि मीडिया में मेरा भी बहुत ज्यादा शुरुआत में अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस नहीं रहा था, और क्योंकि मैं जब नेशनल दस्तक से जुड़ी थी तो मीडिया में मैंने बहुत सारी चीजें देखी कि नेगेटिविटी बहुत है यहाँ पर, और वो एक एक्सपीरियंस भी ऐसा था कि तमाम रिपोर्ट्स कहती थी कि आप कितनी भी मेहनत कर ले, कितना भी कुछ कर ले, कि कोई दलित जो है एडिटोरियल पोस्ट पर आज तक पहुंचा नहीं। तो मुझे लगा मैं मेहनत कर भी लूं तो मैं जाऊंगी कहाँ, मतलब मैं इसी बीच में रह जाऊंगी, मतलब आगे तो मेरी ग्रोथ होनी नहीं है। तो फिर वो मैं मीडिया छोड़कर फिर मैं एमफिल में चली गई थी, एमफिल में किया, और एमफिल में भी वही सारी चीजें देख रही हूँ कि मीडिया के लिए लोग जुड़ते तो है लेकिन वो जाते कहाँ हैं, ये सवाल हमेशा अंदर से बचोड़ता रहा। फिर उसके बाद बीबीसी गई और बीबीसी में भी अलग एक्सपीरियंस रहा। फिर वहां से वो जो सारी चीजें मेरे अंदर ना एकदम दिमाग में वो सारी चीजें हो गई थी कि क्यों एक तरह के लोग रहते हैं मीडिया में। भाई मीडिया में अगर मैं लोगों को रख रही हूँ, मैं बात कर रही हूँ सभी मुद्दों पर, तो क्यों सब तरह के लोग नहीं आते हैं। तो कई जगह से मैं बात करती हूँ तो ये सारी चीजें आती हैं कि सीवी नहीं पहुंचते हैं। तो वो सीवी क्यों नहीं पहुंचते हैं, लोग क्यों नहीं हायर होते हैं, इसका जवाब मिलना मुश्किल हो जाता है। बहुत सारे जो मेरी स्ट्रीम मीडिया की मैं बात करूँ, बहुत सारे मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म कहते हैं कि हम लोग जो है दलित आदिवासियों को जगह देंगे जब वो वैकेंसीज निकालते हैं। लेकिन वैकेंसी जब निकालते हैं, आज सुबह भी मेरी बात हो रही थी नदीम से, तो जब वैकेंसी निकालती है तो एक तरह का फिल्टर होता है, और उस फिल्टर में जैसे आप लिखेंगे कि हम लोग दलित आदिवासी हैं, वो फिल्टर आपको एकदम साइड में रख दिया जाएगा, वो आदिवासी वाला और दलित वाला जो सीवी है वो साइड में रख दिया जाएगा, बाकी लोगों को रख लिया जाएगा। तो डाइवर्सिटी कैसे आप मेंटेन करेंगे? डाइवर्सिटी की जब बात करेंगे तो आप पुरुषों को रख लेंगे, महिलाओं को रख लेंगे, हिंदू मुस्लिम को रख लेंगे। सिर्फ इतना ही डाइवर्सिटी मेंटेन नहीं हो सकता। डाइवर्सिटी के लिए आपको इंडिया में हम लोग रहते हैं, अगर आप बाहर की बात करेंगे तो वहां पे ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट होते हैं, वो दोनों तरह के लोगों को रखते हैं, वो मेन वुमन को रखते हैं, इस तरह से करते हैं। लेकिन इंडिया में नहीं होता, वो यहीं पर वो सारी चीजें फॉलो करते हैं। सिर्फ हिंदू मुस्लिम रखने से डाइवर्सिटी कैसे मेंटेन हो जाएगी? सिर्फ महिला पुरुष रखने से कैसे मेंटेन हो जाएगी? महिलाओं में भी हम किन महिलाओं को रख रहे हैं, पुरुषों में भी हम किन पुरुषों को रख रहे हैं? हम जब जेंडर की बात कर रहे हैं तो यहाँ पर LGBTQI+ को भी हम लोग रख रहे हैं क्या? उनमें भी किस लोगों को रख रहे हैं? आप सुप्रीम कोर्ट में देखिए, जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजेस का हम जब डाइवर्सिटी की बात होती थी तब हाल ही में 3 महिलाओं को जजेस बनाया गया, लेकिन वो जज कौन थे? सारे के सारे सवर्ण। क्यों उसमें कोई दलित आदिवासी नहीं पहुंचा? किस तरह की हम लोग डाइवर्सिटी की बात कर रहे हैं, किस तरह की हम लोग इंक्लूसिव की बात कर रहे हैं? हम महिलाओं की जब बात करें तो महिला, सब कहते हैं कि महिला महिला होती है, मैं हमेशा सुनती हूँ, ठीक है, महिला की कोई जात धर्म नहीं होती, बिल्कुल गलत है। महिला की जात भी होती है, महिला का धर्म भी होता है, उसका इकोनॉमिक बैकग्राउंड भी होता है। और इसी वजह से एक रिपोर्ट है, जो इंटरनेशनल रिपोर्ट है, वो कहती है कि लगभग 15 साल जो दलित महिला है वो सवर्ण महिला से कम जीती है। इस पर हम लोग कभी बात नहीं करते। इस पर जब इस रिपोर्ट पर बहुत सारे सवाल भी उठे थे, और इस सवाल के बाद फिर एक और रिसर्च किया गया था, उसमें भी हुआ था कि इकोनॉमिक बैकग्राउंड अलग अलग हो सकता है, इस वजह से शायद जो ये इतना एज का जो इतना गैप था वो इसलिए रहा होगा, तो इकोनॉमिक बैकग्राउंड एक जैसा रखा गया, लेकिन उसमें भी 11 साल का अंतर आया। तो 11 साल का अंतर बहुत बड़ा अंतर होता है। क्यों ऐसा अंतर आया, इस पर कभी हम लोग बात नहीं करते हैं। आजादी के 75 साल हो गए हैं, हम आजादी का ये अमृत महोत्सव मना रहे हैं। अमृत महोत्सव में अगर हम लोग देखें तो मीडिया में, मैं जैसे अभी बात भी कर रही थी कि दलित आदिवासी एडिटोरियल पोस्ट पे नहीं पहुंच पाते हैं, छोटी मोटी पोस्ट पर रहते हैं, लेकिन वो या तो चुप रहकर काम करते हैं या फिर जो थोड़ा सा बॉस को खुश रखने के लिए काम किया जाता है, ठीक है हम लोग बोलेंगे नहीं, अपनी आइडेंटिटी पे नहीं बोलेंगे, अपनी आइडेंटिटी छिपाकर काम करेंगे, इस तरह से काम किया जाता है। तो ऑक्सफैम की रिपोर्ट अभी हाल ही में आई है। इससे पहले की मैं रिपोर्ट बता दूं, 2006 में अनिल चमेड़िया हो गए, योगेंद्र यादव हो गए, कई लोगों ने एक रिसर्च किया था कि मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया में और जितना भी न्यूज़पेपर है, डिजिटल मीडिया है, रेडियो है, टीवी है, कौन लोग हैं वहां पर काम करने में? तो तब भी यही पाया गया था, कोई भी दलित आदिवासी नहीं था। 2019 में ऑक्सफैम ने रिपोर्ट किया, तो ऑक्सफैम में भी यही रिसर्च पाया गया कि तब भी थी, कोई भी मतलब बहुत ज्यादा अंतर नहीं आया, और तभी भी यही हुआ कि तो अभी भी यही आया कि कोई भी दलित आदिवासी वहां तक नहीं पहुंचा। अब इस साल एक ऑक्सफैम की रिपोर्ट आई है, और ऑक्सफैम की रिपोर्ट में मूक नायक मैंने शुरू किया था। मूक नायक ऐसा पहला प्लेटफॉर्म बना जहां पर डाइवर्सिटी मेंटेन की गई, पहली बार ऐसा हुआ आजादी के बाद। बहुत छोटी सी टीम है, उसमें मैंने कोशिश की है कि दलितों को भी जगह दी है, आदिवासियों को भी दी है, ओबीसी को भी दी है, महिलाओं, मुस्लिम, पश्मानदा सभी को जगह दी है, इवन LGBTQI को भी मैंने जगह दी है।
तो हम लोग छोटी सी टीम कैसे कर सकते हैं? हम लोग इंक्लूसिव की बात करते हैं तो मैं कोशिश करती हूँ कि मैं अपनी टीम में भी शामिल करूँ। हम लोग जब खेल के आए हैं मीडिया से, तो जो सारी चीजें मैंने फेस किया, मैं चाहती हूँ मेरी टीम में ऐसा कोई फेस ना करे, हम लोग इस तरह के लोगों को रखें। तो इस तरह की जब हम लोग डाइवर्सिटी की बात करते हैं, इंक्लूजन की बात करते हैं, तो आपको सब तरह के लोगों को रखना पड़ेगा, सब तरह के लोगों को बात करनी पड़ेगी, क्योंकि मेरा हाथ कटा है, मुझे दुख दर्द है ना, तो मैं बताऊंगी मुझे कितना दर्द है, मेरी जगह कोई और ना बताए, क्योंकि सदियों से ऐसा ही होता आया है कि पुरुष ही बताता आया है कि महिलाओं को कितना दुख है, कितना दर्द है, और सामान्य भी बताया है कि दलित और आदिवासी को कितना दुख है। ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए। अब सब तरह के लोगों को रखना होगा, सब तरह के लोगों को बात करनी होगी।
You can follow Hina on all the social platforms, including Twitter. She's very active on Twitter and also Muknaik on Twitter. But to see her work, in case you haven't seen already, indeed very compelling. Our next panel member would be senior journalist Kedar Mr. Sir. We would like to hear from him opportunity and challenges in promoting gender-sensitive norms, especially in vernacular media. Sir, I'll also allow you to even give us a comparison on national and vernacular media and the kind of portrayals of stories.
Honorable Chair, my co-panelists, friends. Well, opening, Usaji gave us a line. Media shamed us. And that is a perennial complaint that we hear and we reach out to hear. As a media person, I have, and in many platforms I said that, okay, we are the people who are no more working as a democratic institutions. Rather, we are basically an institution of patriarchy. We are basically an institution who are working to support authoritarianism, and we are basically becoming one of the most capable institutions to create a society which sustains with greater height of exploitation. So that's the role of media for me. So in such a circumstance, such a background, what kind of utterance you expect from me? I'm not going to speak that whether inclusion is there or not. It's visible. There are hundreds of reports. There are so many reports, documents which say it's visible. Where are the tribals? Where are the Adivasis? Where are the women? And I was just looking at a report published by UN Women Group and New Zealand Re, where it said that hardly barely 20% women journalists are working in almost all kind of media, digital, television, print. And in print it's very, it's becoming day to day, it's very difficult to find women journalists. I don't know what is happening to that, whether the writing skill of women has gone down or the intention of inclusion has completely eroded. That's the bigger question to be answered. And number one, the question of inclusion will come when there is democracy. Is there democracy? Do we have a democratic norm still prevalent in our media institutions? Look at the media reports. What is happening? You just compare, look at New York Times in one side and Times of India another side. Until now, New York Times gives at least 1,000 words to a story. But in Indian journalism, we have taken it granted that no one is going to read a 200-word story. So cut the words short. Don't go for evidence, just go for bites. Don't make an issue or don't discuss on an issue, rather create an issue and sensationalize it more and more. And particularly if it is a issue of violence, and if it is a particular issue of violence against women, then make it a story of entertainment. Remember, when Nirbhaya case happened, media played a vital role. And at that time, at least, 2, 3 major things happened. Parma Commission came, and particular law came. The conscience of the nation was woke up. People came out in December, winter, in December, frozen night with candle lights, and they face water cannons. After that, you see how many incidents of that same nature has happened. After Nirbhaya, every violence case, every rape case has been polarized. A victim is known to be discussed for her caste, for her religion, for her identity. The biggest problem is that, after that, nothing has happened in this country, and the Prime Minister goes on speaking that, people are scared of. After we brought a law, the rape cases has gone down. But what's the reality? Every day, you have seen Hathras, you have seen Unnao. Every other day there is an event. But what do we do? How do we report that? That's the biggest problem nowadays. Something, a case comes, we start making what caste she is, what is her religion, what is her identity, and what is the caste of the victim. A Brahmin cannot be a rapist. A upper caste people cannot be a rapist. And we go with that mindset. And why it is happening? Again, I focus on one point, because there is lack of democracy in your understanding, in your institutional framework. Media is completely working as PR agency of authoritarian rulers. I'm not targeting any political party. Whoever is there in the power, they want to use media as their PR agencies. And politics of this country has forgotten the idea of democracy and the idea of equality since long. When did you listen a politician talking about the idea of equality? When did you hear a politician is talking about a gender-sensitive society, a society of inclusion? So divisive, the division has become the norms. So media is not a completely different organism. It's a part of our society. Even your society is poisonous, you are going to be a poisonous house of media. Remember, in 1936, I think, 36 or 37, I'm not sure, Gandhi wrote an editorial, and the title was Poisonous Journalism. And what Gandhi wrote in 30s, it's happening today, the same. Nothing has changed. Meena was talking about the Dalit editorial policy, whether no Dalit has come to become an editor. Do you know in Odisha, every fourth Odia is Adivasi? Because we have 23% of tribal population in Odisha. And we don't have a single visible reporter, nor in television, neither in print. Not a single tribal reporter. Fakir can speak very well on that. He was a part of media groups here. Even the tribal populated districts like Malkangiri, Koraput, you don't have a district correspondent from that country. You use, okay, I got a report where it said that, nearly 50% women journalists are working in television media. That's fine, right? Great. But what role they are assigned to? You are making women journalists a piece of glamour. They are the news presenters. And in that same report, it is said that after 35, the reporter, the anchor, he no more becomes an anchor. At least you can see many colored women, many colored anchors still sitting and dominating the newsrooms in the Western world. But how many senior women journalists are still sitting and dominating the newsrooms in Indian media? You need pretty faces and stop making women a simple pretty face. That is the biggest conspiracy against feminism in India. That reducing the presence of women as a pretty face only. Last thing, I think, if I will go on speaking and speaking. I just want to make a few very particular points. One is, if you want to make a inclusive media house, first emphasize on the democratic management of the media houses. Domination of corporate interest and domination of political interest in media is going to make you an authoritarian state. Our democracy is going to die if we allow our media institutions to be run by agenda-driven groups. Number two, the idea of equality will die in this country if you don't make the media houses inclusive. You have to bring more tribal, more Dalit, more women journalists who can take decisions. And number three, the protection of privacy. India has become a land of infringement. It's a land of interception. Anybody can enter into telephone, record your telephone, and make it public at his own will. Remember how our media celebrated the chart, the WhatsApp chats of Deepika Padukone and others. Usaji must have remembered one telephone tapping case brought down Ramakrishna Hegde government in Karnataka. Now every day, anyone can intercept your telephone and make your telephone calls public. And it is happening at the time when Supreme Court of India is saying and reiterating in that very great judgment, the great privacy judgment, where privacy is a fundamental right. Privacy is a fundamental right, but we can infringe into privacy of anyone. And if she is a woman, it's doubled. We just go on. And again, another case in the same level, if you remember, in Odisha, in last yes ma'am, I'm very much aware of my time. Suppose somebody commits suicide. Now media is very keen to report on two things. One is, of course, women atrocities, and particularly the rape cases, and the other one is if it is suicide case. After a suicide happens, if it is a male member, then immediately the women partner of that man becomes the biggest villain. It starts with uh, Sushant Singh Rajput is that Ria that becomes Diane and she is all kind of reports. In Odisha, if you have gone through last 2, 3 suicide case, the women partner of the man is the biggest villain. When we stop that? When we are going to stop the attitude of being judge, jury, executioner, everything? And the final words I want to say that we are journalists, we are not judges. We are passing verdict at every time. Hang him. He is the culprit. He is the guilty. I always say one thing. If you want to be a journalist, stop becoming a judge first. You have nothing to be judgmental about what is happening. You are a mere reporter. Report it. Don't pass your judgment as reporting to my mind. Thank you very much.
Um, Kedar sir has addressed a lot of important points, and I think I'm going to just speak a little bit of extension. In my 10 years of media experience and now shifting towards development sector, what different I'm doing with my life is, when I shifted to development sector, I realized that the 10 years that I spent, I genuinely did not even look at gender reporting because I was never given an opportunity to actually look at gender lens. And I've worked with most of the top television news channels. And I think that is the fundamental problem. What I have realized now, working in organization like Breakthrough, which is specifically working on social norms, is that what is norms basically? What Meena has spoken, what Kedar sir has spoken, is the practices of journalism. And Meena pointed out very well कि अगर हम खुद की मतलब कि कब तक सवर्ण दलित की आवाज बनते रहेंगे, है ना? क्योंकि वो इंक्लूजन ही नहीं है, कहीं पे डाइवर्सिटी नहीं है. ये दिस इज हैपनिंग बिकॉज media is very lopsided in hirings, and this is somewhere we're not realizing it while creating a culture in media. When I first entered big channel, I was very excited. Oh, I've studied journalism and I really wanted to become a journalist. But then one senior editor told me, listen, your real journalism starts in a news channel, forget everything. And what I forgot is what most of the journalism students forget when they become journalists is ethics of journalism, which is taught during our colleges. If anybody has studied journalism, they are specifically taught how to report a story, to use appropriately, allegedly. If a case is sub judice, we have to be extremely cautious about how we are reporting it. We have to use the word reportedly in specific areas. We have to use the word allegedly. We have to give a source-based attributes. And we forget that because the top editors of media completely forgets that. Now what happens in the process is the media perpetuates what the society is. Breakthrough works on social norms. Very tricky subject. Very tricky subjects. Trying to change the mindset of a person. We face India as a patriarchal society, and not just India, but I think most of the part of the world is functions on very much patriarchal mindset. Men are more powerful, women are weaker, women are supposed to be in the kitchen, men are supposed to go and work out. But a lot of things have changed over the period of time, but have our mindset changed? The mindset has not changed. So what is this norm? This norm is basically the mindset, what society develops. Now, current media status, does that mindset change? Recently, we witnessed one of the most gruesome case in Delhi, where a girl was chopped into pieces. I hope most of you have seen that story somewhere, where the girl was chopped into pieces, and then one of the person in the position said, but you know, the young educated girls need to make choices. The immediate blame game was on the girl, but the girl was supposed to make the right choices into the live-in relationship. Now the norm tells you that the girl, this is exactly where the norm is. There was a gruesome murder case where a girl was chopped into pieces. The case was sensationalized to an extent that one of the channels sent five reporters to enact the whole scene. And then the commentary was, you know, the girl should have made a conscious choices when the NCRB data tells you that the crime against women was highest in from 2020 to 2021. There was a 21% increase in violence against women in 2021. Yeah, there was a 110% increase in violence against women online abuse in the year of 2020 and 2021. There was more than 30% increase in domestic violence cases in the year of 2021. Why I'm emphasizing in 2021 is that is the year when most of the women were within their home, within their homes, within their homes. So please, as a media, perpetuate the social norms instead of changing them. Is when you tell a girl who's dead, who did not deserve to be chopped into pieces, that she should have made a choice. Well, the Supreme Court gives you the equal right to be in a live-in relationship and to be married. Then the question is, why on earth are you telling the girl what to do even when she's dead? And that is exactly what happens when somebody is raped. Where was the girl? Where was the girl that time? Who was she with? Who was she with? Recently, there was a Lakhimpur Khera case where two girls were found hung. And the next day, there were stories about the girls. I think Meena would know better. इस बार जो Lakhimpur Khera में case हुआ था, most of our journalist friends they went and they reported it, and the kind of stories that were created, but that girl is so and so and so. But you know the fundamental thing is, if there is a rape, question that why any kind of a rape is a human violation. It doesn't matter where she was, who she was with. The question is, when there are rape stories, the fundamental question is, it's a human violation. The second is, look at the power dynamics. In Hathra's case, in Lakhimpura case, we saw that there was a power dynamics. In India, every day, 10 reports of Dalit rapes are being reported. Now, these reports are not NCRB data. NCRB data is collected on the basis of FIRs filed. So just imagine, in a country like India, where women are shamed, to even report a sexual harassment cases. How many cases of rapes and harassment and violence must have gone underreported? Just think once. एक बार सोच लो कि एनसीआरबी का डेटा आपको कहता है कि there is a 20-30% increase. Online violence 110% increase हुआ है. And entire NCRB data is just based on the FIRs. Now just give a thought, because of the social norm, which is, and who shames women? It's the media who shames women. It's the society who shames women, and media perpetuates it. You know, ये लड़की का रेप हुआ, ये इस जगह पे उस टाइम थी. One of the things that Kedar sir mentioned is the Nirbhaya case, and let's not call it a Nirbhaya case because the word itself is very ironical. Nirbhaya was given the name of brave, you know, she was brave. Nahi. Let's not just bring a narrative. It's wrong. She did not deserve. That bravado was not necessary. She was a girl who was raped, and that was a human rights violation. She was Jyoti Pandey. Her mother has told us, take her name. In Jyoti's case, what happened was media did exactly what they were supposed to do. They broke the social norms. They questioned. They went all hammer and tongs saying no, but it is unacceptable. And that one case becomes the most significant case. Where government also took the note that yes, it is wrong. But you know what is ironical? After that, just after Jyoti's case, there was another rape case in Delhi where a 5-year-old was raped. But that case did not deserve. That case did not get highlighted. You know why? Because perhaps it did not suit the media. You know, here the power dynamics plays a very, very important role. Conclave, who was that person? Which caste and creed and religion did that belong? Very important. The problem with the current spectrum of media is it basically is an enabler of societal mindset. मीडिया ऐसा कोई काम नहीं करती जो आपको क्वेश्चन करने में मजबूर करेगा. मीडिया वही काम करती है जो लोगों को से जो लोग कंज्यूम करते हैं. Recently, Breakthrough came up with a report, very unrelated, reimagining pop culture. You know, we went and we asked some Bollywood screenwriters, आप क्यों ऐसा काम करते हो? Why are you writing, these scripts that are so that are violent, but it is somewhat portrays women in a very bad light. Too much sensationalization, too much objectification, so many isms in it, so many bad languages. Why? And they said because people consume it. And honestly, there is no difference between all Bollywood scriptwriters and OTT scriptwriters and media feature stories. आपने हिंदी न्यूज में 20-20 मिनट की फीचर स्टोरीज पढ़ी होगी. Just like this, that the recent case, जहाँ पे 5 reporters भेजे गए थे just to enact the whole scene of body being brutally chopped. Why? Aren't you aware of how that is? आपको enact क्यों करना है? Because people consume it. That's where I think media goes wrong. Interestingly, I was talking to one of the journalists, and I'm like, gender reporters क्यों नहीं होते? मेरे होते हैं, बिल्कुल होते हैं. हमने कौन होते हैं ये gender reporters? Gender reporters are those women. One person, a junior sitting in the newsroom, आप gender cover कर लो. None of the news channels really know how the gender reportage or gender brief works. What kind of stories they need to cover. Should they cover intersectionality? At the time when we're talking about LGBTQI, we're talking about different sections of society. Gender reporting also comes into it, but I'm sure nobody knows it. Breakthrough is trying to bring it a change in our own way. We don't want to be an entity that just complains. We want to create space within the media. We want to tell media that when we are working towards social changing norms with adolescents, with school systems, with teachers, we think media is a very critical stakeholder. Like the government is the stakeholder, the media should also be the stakeholder, because to bring in the overarching policy changes, media should be the voice. Media should be the voice. In the last 2 years, pandemic has affected women and gender, other vulnerable sections in the most difficult ways one can imagine. Girls are back to being at home after 20 years of efforts of bringing, trying to put back to schools. Girls are back to being at home. They did not even have an access to smartphones. We work in Haryana, and a younger brother have a smartphone, but an elder sister who is in 9th-10th standard do not have an access to smartphone. Just imagine our condition for the last 2 years in online education. Where is media in all this? So at Breakthrough, what we're trying to do is we're trying to network with different journalists, and we're trying to create a curriculum, just like the 5 W's and the X. Even in gender sensitization, perhaps there could be 5 W's and X. Let's sensitize, the editors and the reporters, the inputs and the outputs section. They need to be sensitized, I think, because then only there will be some kind of reporter changes. Reporters will be sent to cover stories with sensitivities. Source-based stories completely missing. Completely missing. no attributes towards sources. Maybe that should be the practice. Bringing the three sides of the story. We were taught in journalism schools. Every story doesn't have two sides. It has a third side as well. Completely missing. Until and unless media changes its way of pursuing a story, narratives won't change. Until and unless a rape is questioned as why was she raped and on what right were the human rights violated, and instead of where was she and how was she, what was she, narratives won't change. Most importantly, in breakthrough we have one big virtue, and that is empathy. Until and unless you empathize with somebody, not sympathize, empathize with somebody, you will never understand. So even if you are from that particular section of the society and you are covering a story, which is the marginalized section, try to create that lens of empathy. If then I think you will understand better. Never go with a preconceived notion. Kedar sir pointed out very rightly, media is very agenda driven and reporters are sent with an agenda. आप वहां जाओ, इतना सेंसेशनलाइज करो, हमको ये चाहिए, ऑडियंस को ये पसंद आएगा, ऑलरेडी a storyline is created. But let the reporter go there and then find the story. I think that's when the changes are going to come. So we at Breakthrough want media to be a stakeholder in the overall gender reforms and not one of the platforms where we have to say कि please यार story ले लो, please gender पे कुछ तो cover करो, government को सुनना भी जरूरी है ना. Instead of that, we want media to be an ally. That's where we aspire. That's where we aspire media to be. So that, thank you so much.
Thank you, panelists, for making a very good presentation covering a variety of issues on media and gender. And now the floor is open for questions. Be brief, because we know that it's a gender issue and there would be a lot of questions. But be brief and be specific to the topic. Okay?
First of all, good morning to all the panelists. I am Aditi from Masters First Years, Gate University School of Journalism. So my question is to anyone who wants to answer is, because media as the fourth state of democracy, because of its ethical transparency it provided to the people. In this era of media, what do you think about media as a fourth state? And isn't the pillar of democracy may weakened due to the centralization that media is following right now?
What Kedar Sharma ji has already, Kedar Mishra ji, he has already answered your question. And I
Yeah, when you say that media is the fourth estate, it's fourth estate without having concrete in it, without having any spine in it. And the ethics that you are talking about, in Indian constitution there is nothing specific called media freedom. It is a part of citizens' fundamental right. As a journalist, I am not extra free in this country. I am as free as you are. So, exercising of citizens' freedom is very important, and media is not working to protect civil liberty in this country. Civil liberty has become a bad word. If you are talking about civil liberty, there are many phrases now media has invented. You may be a urban Naxal, you may be a soft terrorist, whatever. I'm talking about my constitutional rights, and that is become the biggest problem. Somebody was celebrating Manusmriti Dahan Divas, and it hurts my sentiment. And media is the biggest industry of hot sentiments. किसी का भी सेंटिमेंट कहीं भी हर्ट हो जाता है इस में, वो चला आता है मीडिया में, and one bite is sufficient to make a story. So in that context, what kind of ethics you expect from media? And since you are a student of journalism, what is your dream? In what kind of institutions you are going to work in the future? An institution which will give democratic value to your society, or an agenda-driven institution which will employ you to work for a particular image-making exercise. You are simply sent to a place not to report, but to make an agenda, to set an agenda for a particular political party. Because the owner of your media house belongs to that particular party. So only two agenda. One agenda is to serve the corporate interest, and another agenda is to create the political image of your master. That's it.
There are no ethical norms, gender norms as far as gender representation in media. This is the premise all of us have. Based on that, we are presenting our.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम शेखर मदर है, मैं औरंगाबाद से आया हूँ। मीना जी को, कोतवाल जी को सवाल है मेरा। मैं दैनिक भास्कर में पत्रकारिता कर रहा हूँ पिछले 12 साल से। उसके पहले मैं ईटीवी में था। खैरलांजी मसाकर जो है मैंने खुद कवर किया है। उसकी पहली ब्रेकिंग न्यूज व्हेन आई वाज इन ईटीवी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया, तो मैंने उसकी कवर की है। मैं ये आपसे जानना चाहता हूँ, ये दृष्टिकोण लेना चाहता हूँ कि इस देश के संविधान के रचयिता जो है डॉक्टर बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर, उन्होंने इस देश की जातियों को खत्म करने के लिए कहा था, एनहाइलेशन ऑफ कास्ट, ये किताब के द्वारा। तो क्या यह जाति प्रथा को खत्म करने के लिए मीडिया कोई रोल निभा रहा है या नहीं निभा रहा है?
जी, बहुत अच्छा सवाल किया आपने। देखिए, बाबा साहिब ने तो एनिलेशन ऑफ कास्ट लिखा, लेकिन हम लोग उसको कितना मान रहे हैं या मीडिया उसको कितना मान रहा है? अब मीडिया में एक तरह के लोग हैं, जैसे मैंने बताया, ये रिसर्च कहता है, मैं खुद नहीं कह रही हूँ, कि वहां पे किस तरह के लोग बैठे हुए हैं। और बहुत से उदाहरण हैं कि वो जाति खत्म करना ही नहीं चाहता। इसका क्यों? क्योंकि वो एक प्रिविलेज ले रहा है और कोई भी अपना प्रिविलेज खत्म नहीं करना चाहेगा। ठीक है, इसीलिए वो दूसरे लोगों को भी भर्ती नहीं करता। दूसरे लोगों से मतलब है मेरा, जैसे दलित आदिवासी को भी नहीं आने देता, डिसीजन मेकिंग में नहीं आने देता। वो रखता तो है क्योंकि उसको डाइवर्सिटी थोड़ी सी दिखानी है, उन मुद्दों पे बात भी करनी है, लेकिन वो उतनी ही बात करेगा जितने में उसका जो प्रिविलेज है वो खत्म ना हो। उस पर जो सवाल उठे वो इतना उठे कि उसकी कास्ट पर या उस पर सवाल ना आए, उतना ही है। जैसे हम लोगों ने हाथरस वाला मामला भी देखा, बहुत सारे मामले ऐसे देखे हैं हम लोगों ने। उन्होंने उठाए तो सही, लेकिन किस तरह उठा के उनको खराब भी कर दिया। आपने जालोर वाला मामला भी देखा, खिललांजी वाला मामला देखा। खिललांजी वाले मामला आप खुद कह रहे हैं, वो कहां तक पहुंचा? क्या मीडिया ने उसको रोल निभाया? बहुत सारे लोग नहीं भी जानते होंगे खिललांजी वाला मामला। क्यों नहीं जानते, जबकि इतना बड़ा मामला था? क्यों उनको इंसाफ नहीं मिला? आखिरी जो उनके घर के सदस्य बचे थे, लड़की के जो पिता बचे थे, वो भी खत्म हो गए लड़ते लड़ते, कुछ नहीं हुआ। मीडिया उसको रोल को निभाना ही नहीं चाहता, क्योंकि वहां पे एक तरह के लोग हैं। मीडिया की जो अभी इस समय हम लोग इमेज देख रहे हैं, चाहे उसको चौथा पिलर कह लीजिए, आप कुछ भी कह लीजिए, मीडिया की इमेज बहुत खराब हो चुकी है। और ये आप देख भी सकते हैं, भीड़ में जब जाते हैं कई सारे लोग, तो उनको गो बैक के नारे भी लगाए जाते हैं। मीडिया का आज की टीवी में जो हम लोग समझ रहे हैं, हम जैसे जो लोग हैं और जो थोड़ा सा समझ रहे हैं कि मीडिया की किस तरह की चालाकी करता है, वो लोग टीवी देखना छोड़ दिए हैं। क्यों? क्योंकि उनको पता है मीडिया किस तरह से जो अपना रोल निभा रहा है, वो एक एजेंडा कर रहा है। हम लोग इस पर बात भी कर रहे हैं कि किस तरह से वो एजेंडा के तहत काम कर रहा है। तो टीवी देखना उन्होंने छोड़ दिया है। और वो जो मीडिया की जो ये इस समय की जो स्थिति है, वो किन लोगों ने की है? क्योंकि वहां पे तो उन्होंने डाइवर्सिटी रखी नहीं। वहां पे तो वो जो जिन लोगों को बोलने नहीं देते, जिन लोगों को रखना नहीं चाहते, जिनके साथ काम नहीं करना चाहते, उन्होंने तो पूरा ये श्योरिटी है ना कि उन्होंने तो नहीं खराब किया। जब आप आरक्षण की भी बात करते हैं, आप मेरिट की बात करते हैं, तो अब वो लोग तो पहुंचे नहीं, उन्होंने तो खराब नहीं किया मीडिया, क्योंकि वो तो वहां पहुंचे ही नहीं। अब जिन्होंने पहुंचे हैं, जो लोग जिन्होंने मीडिया खराब किया है, वो कौन लोग हैं? तो वो अपनी जाति को बनाए रखना चाहते हैं, इसीलिए वो कभी नहीं चाहेंगे कि हमारे साथ जो है दलित आदिवासी बैठकर काम करें। और बड़े बड़े मीडिया में है, मेरा खुद का एक एक्सपीरियंस रहा है, वो लोग छोटी पोस्ट पे तो रखते हैं, कभी भी किसी मीटिंग में नहीं रखेंगे, अपने साथ बैठकर काम नहीं करने देंगे और अपने से ऊपर तो आने ही नहीं देंगे। जिसमें महिलाएं तो बहुत ज्यादा पीछे हैं। महिलाएं तो अपनी एक दोहरी जिंदगी निभाती हैं, और जिसमें दलित आदिवासी महिलाएं रहे तो उन तक तो नजर भी नहीं पहुंचती है।
करना चाहता हूँ, just one line I want to add. जो मीडिया कैसा काम कर रहा है उसका एक ही उदाहरण आप ले लीजिए। मीडिया बेसिकली पुजारी का काम कर रहा है। जब वर्ल्ड कप हो रहा है T20 का, अगर आप 12 एस्ट्रोलॉजर को बिठा के एक प्रोग्राम करते हो, इंडिया जीतेगा या हारेगा, इससे आपको पता नहीं कि कौन सा काम कर रहा है मीडिया। बेसिकली वी आर क्रिएटिंग ए पुजारी मीडिया, इसको ही मीडिया है।
One question is
there were 300 crore satta over it. And they called them so that people will invest in that satta. There is a huge exposure to it. They do it, whatever you said, but there is effect. Thank you so much.
Hello.
कैसे करने ये मेरे एक सवाल एक
सर एक
बच्चों को बोल दीजिए, हम बात
very good morning panel. My question is from Ms. Dipali. Do you think it is high time that media in India means degenerating workspaces, like women reporters not given certain stories or events to cover just because of the gender identity? Do you think it is high time that media in India needs degenerating workspaces, like women reporters not given certain stories or events to cover just because of gender identity? Sorry? Rishabh, I'm a first semester from K School of Nursing.
Okay, thank you for the question. I think very important question. One of the things I just want to make it observe, यही होता है, we all start with gender and we forget gender. Then we talk about everything else. We talk about politics, we talk about everything and we forget gender. So let's stick to gender today. Very interesting question. There is this bias. There is this bias, and from my very experience, I think even Meena would agree. Whenever we enter, the newsroom spaces, the gender is very much visible. Very much visible. The plum stories will always go to the male reporters. और जहाँ पे चिल्लाना होता है, थोड़ा सा ड्रामा करना होता है, वहाँ पे they send to women reporters. Even in the decision-making positions, it's the same thing. Okay. Every time where you think that there is this, women. Let's make women the bad person, even while making the reporters. That's why you will see women reporters will be screaming while the male reporters will be angry. And this is emotive. This is emotive. In all this, what we forget is very interesting. When I asked one of the person, "Aap gender split hai na? Kya karte hain?" They said we cover cooking, we cover interior designing, we cover. I said, but gender reporter. So I think the perception, and that is exactly the perception, that stereotypical mindset comes right from the top. And unless that social norm of stereotypical behavior, it's, that if women are supposed to just do this and men are supposed to do this, that changes, I'm sure that the pattern of journalism will change. The person who is in the editorial position also has that stereotypical mindset. कि औरतें तो इसी के लिए बनी हैं. Let's then create drama like television soap, And that is exactly what the women reporters are unfortunately expected to do, even on television. And in print media, they're just supposed to do. I say, women the story karo na. Women the story kya kare? Is it an advocacy related? Is it a policy related? You know, like when there is budget, the union budget, what is there for women? Do you see that headline? There is nothing for women. No, because that lens is not there. So two answers to your question. One is the stereotypical mindset. Until that changes, the structure won't change. And second, until and unless you develop the gender lens, that is not going to change. And that is the reason what Breakthrough is right now doing is we are inculcating the gender curriculum right from your standard 6. Because education system only misses that gender wala lens. Na? So luckily government of Odisha has given us that opportunity wherein we are integrating the gender curriculum in all the social sciences, and we hope that 35 lakh students of Odisha will have that gender lens someday. You know, so let's hope for it.
इससे मैडम को पूछना चाहता हूँ, मेरा सवाल ऐसा है कि आप जेंडर सेंसिटाइजेशन पे काम कर रहे हैं, मैं बहुत अप्रिशिएट करता हूँ आपको। मैं ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि किसी अपर क्लास महिला पर जब बलात्कार होता है, रेप होता है, तो मीडिया उसको बहुत अच्छी तरह से कवर करता है, लेकिन किसी दलित और पिछड़ी जाति की महिला का उत्पीड़न होता है तो मीडिया उस ध्यान नहीं देता। अपर क्लास की महिला पर रेप हुआ तो पूरा देश मेणबत्ती लगाने के लिए आगे आ जाता है, लेकिन दलित महिला के ऊपर रेप हुआ तो बस केवल दलित महिलाएं रास्ते पर आती है। तो ये क्यों होता है? मीडिया इसको किस प्रकार से कवर करता है?
मैं आपके सवाल का 2 लाइन में आंसर दूंगी। हथरस का जब केस आया तो ब्रेकथ्रू में एक चीज हुई, पास ऑन द माइक। इसका मतलब होता है कि जिसका अधिकार वो है आंसर करने का, वही वो आंसर करेगा। मैं आपके पहले स्टेटमेंट से थोड़ी सी सहमत नहीं हूँ। कभी भी कोई भी रेप स्टोरी सही से कवर की नहीं जाती। बट जहाँ पे हमने दलित महिलाओं का सवाल उठाया, वो जेंडर, वही पावर स्ट्रक्चर देखना बहुत जरूरी है। कल मैं और मीना बात कर रहे थे कि ऐसा है कि आप और ये बात मीना ने उठाई है, तो मैं उनको क्रेडिट देना चाहूंगी। एंड आई एम गोइंग टू पास ऑन द माइक टू हर, बट जस्ट वांट टू से वन थिंग, दैट वन ऑफ द थिंग दैट इज वी डोंट नेम द विक्टिम, राइट? अभी कभी-कभी हमारे दिन में भी आता है, एंड आई एग्री विद मीना, बट मे बी द पावर डायनामिक को समझने के लिए नेमिंग द विक्टिम इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, क्योंकि हमको लगता है ना कि रेप हो गया मतलब जिंदगी खत्म, इसी वजह से हम उसको डिग्रेड कर देते हैं। दैट इज वेयर द शेमिंग कम्स। बट जहां तक आपकी बात हो रही, आई एम गोइंग टू पास ऑन द माइक टू मीना टू आंसर दैट।
थैंक यू दीपाली। बिल्कुल जैसे आप जो कह रहे हैं, अब आप देखिए कि मीडिया में कौन लोग बैठते हैं और वो अपनी जाति के लोगों का जब मामला आता है तो उसको बहुत अच्छे से उठाते हैं, ठीक है, ये वजह है। और जब कोई दलित होता है, वहाँ पे दलित है ही नहीं, उनके न्यूज रूम में नहीं है, उनके क्या कहते हैं कोई डिसीजन मेकिंग में नहीं है, तो वो कैसे कहेगा कि दलित का क्या दर्द है? दलित का तो अलग एक्सपीरियंस है ना, महिला होने का एक अलग एक्सपीरियंस है और दलित होने का एक अलग एक्सपीरियंस है। तो जब वहाँ पे वो है ही नहीं तो वो कैसे एक्सपीरियंस अपना शेयर करेगा? ठीक है, इसलिए मैंने कहा कि महिला महिला नहीं होती, उसके साथ जाति धर्म अलग जुड़ा होता है। अब आपको 2 एग्जाम्पल मैं बताती हूँ। एक तो निर्भया वाला आप लोग जानते हैं, पूरा देश दुनिया जानता है उसको। बहुत अच्छा लगा जब पूरा देश दुनिया उसके लिए उठ के आया। एक अच्छा से अंदर से एक पॉजिटिविटी आई कि चलो ठीक है, महिला के लिए लोग उठ के आ रहे हैं, थोड़ा सा सेंसिबल हो रहे हैं। लेकिन उसके बाद लगातार बलरामपुर में भी हुआ था सेम वैसे, उसके बारे में नहीं जानते होंगे सब लोग, ठीक है। हाथरस हम लोग देख रहे हैं, हाथरस में शुरुआत में किसी ने कवर नहीं किया था, सिर्फ छोटे मोटे चैनल ने शुरू किया था। मैं शुरुआत से जुड़ी थी, बहुत सारे लोग छोटे छोटे चैनल थे वो शुरू से जुड़े थे। बाद में जब उसकी डेथ हो गई, जब रात में जलाया गया, मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया गया ग्राउंड पर, लेकिन उस समय जब छोटे छोटे रिपोर्टर्स ही गए थे मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया के, और ज्यादातर लड़कियां ही गई थी। बिल्कुल आपने सही कहा कि लड़कियों को ही वहां पे पहुंचाया गया था। उन्होंने लेकिन थोड़ा सा ईमानदारी से काम किया, बहुत सारी चीजें अच्छी अच्छी निकाली वहां से। लेकिन जैसे ही वो मामला हाईलाइट हुआ, जैसे ही वहां पे सरकार पर बात आई, तो वहां से बड़े बड़े पत्रकार चले गए, यहाँ से दिल्ली से पहुंच गए थे और उस मामले को पूरा खराब कर दिया। पता नहीं कौन कौन से वादी उसमें जोड़ दिए, भाभी को क्या क्या बता दिया, नक्सलवाद से लेकर बहुत सारी चीजें उसमें बता दी गई, ठीक है। तो वो सारा मामला पूरा खराब कर दिया गया। अभी हाल ही का मामला लेते हैं, श्रद्धा वाला मामला। श्रद्धा आफ्ताब, क्योंकि आरोपी अभी तक वही साथ, मतलब वह वो है, उसने माना है कि उसने किया है। अब श्रद्धा वाला मामला, श्रद्धा क्योंकि जो है एसटी कम्युनिटी से है, महाराष्ट्र, तो मैंने क्योंकि पता किया था उसमें वो क्या कहते हैं उसको, कोली समाज से है वो, ठीक है, और वहां महाराष्ट्र में वो एसटी कम्युनिटी में आती है। मैंने वो सारी चीजें पता करी। अब यहाँ पे उसको दलित बताया जा रहा है, वो भी एक तो गलत है, मीडिया में उसको दलित बताया जा रहा है, तो दलित नहीं है, वहां पे एसटी है, ठीक है। तो वो मामला उठा रही है मीडिया, पर पता है क्यों उठा रही है? क्योंकि उसमें जो उसका बॉयफ्रेंड था या जो पार्टनर था जिसने उसकी हत्या की है, जिसने उसके टुकड़े किए हैं, जो मान रहा है वो मुस्लिम था।
अगर कोई राजपूत होता तो हाथरस जैसे पंचायतें बैठ जाती, ठीक है, लेकिन यहाँ पर क्योंकि श्रद्धा को अब यहाँ पर हिंदू बताया जा रहा है, वहाँ पे उसको दलित आदिवासी नहीं बताया जा रहा है, यहाँ पे उसको हिंदू बताया जा रहा है, क्योंकि आरोपी यहाँ पे मुस्लिम है। तो ये मीडिया का पूरा खेल है, एजेंडा है, वो देखता है सामने कौन है। बहुत सारे अभी हाल ही में केस हुए हैं, अभी यूपी में भी एक केस हुआ है, उसमें भी टुकड़ों टुकड़ों में काटा गया, 4-5 टुकड़ों में काटा गया, कोई भी दोनों का नाम नहीं जानता हो, क्योंकि उसमें दोनों हिंदू है। ठीक है, तो ये पूरा मीडिया का वहाँ पे जो लोग बैठे हैं वो डिसाइड करता है कौन लोग हैं, किस तरह की स्टोरी करके हमें कैसे बाहर लानी है, किस तरह से लोगों को बैठानी है। इसीलिए मैंने कहा कि जो समझदार लोग हैं वो थोड़ा टीवी देखना छोड़ दिया है, लेकिन गांव देहात के लोग आज भी टीवी देखते हैं और वो वही मानते हैं जो टीवी पर दिखाया जाता है। थैंक यू।
और एक बात ना, have you seen that there is new trend? If there is a rape on a Dalit girl, एक प्रोसेसन चला आता है इन सपोर्ट ऑफ रेपिस्ट। उन्नाव में ये हुआ, काठवा में ये हुआ। For the first time in India, people are making rally in favor of rapists. That's a power dynamic. और दूसरी बात है, आपको अगर याद होगा कि हैदराबाद में क्या हुआ, हैदराबाद में जो डॉक्टर प्रियंका रेड्डी मामला हुआ, उसके बाद जो पूरा घटनाक्रम को एक ऐसा एंगल दिया गया, ऐसी फिल्मी बनाया गया एनकाउंटर करके, और एक उसको पूरा दबा दी गई कि we actually do not know who are the real culprits. तो ये कास्ट एंगल हर रिपोर्ट में कहीं ना कहीं, आपने जो मैंने कहा ना, एक एजेंडा है, और वो एजेंडा इसलिए चलता है क्योंकि पार्टिसिपेशन जो है, आप जितना भी खुद को इगलिटेरियन, जितना भी खुद को ग्रेट बताओ, एक कास्ट हायरार्की कहीं ना कहीं मीडिया में काम करता है। इसलिए सबसे ज्यादा आरक्षण के खिलाफ डिबेट मीडिया में ही होता है।
Good morning, everyone.
Hello, ma'am. Namaskar. My name is Hitesh Sharma. I am from Banasthali Vidyapit. So we have the 18,000 girls over there on the women's university. So you talk about the mindset. And yes, my question. So you talk about the mindset and mentality. So what type of structure you are looking for, and किस तरह का structure आप देख रहे हैं आगे for the women's?
Structure in the sense of media or overall?
Overall, for the women's.
Okay, very interestingly, let me first tell the responsibility to bring in change. Women's change is not for women. Okay? Women are not responsible to empower women. It's the community who is responsible. Dalits are not responsible to empower the Dalits. It's the community, the political system, the policies are responsible. तो जो जिसकी मतलब जो तबके को जरूरत है उसके ऊपर रिस्पांसिबिलिटी मत डालो। That is the reason we say stakeholders. We identify कि ऐसा कौन stakeholder है जो उसको empower करेगा। When it comes to women, sir, the recent report says to get the gender equality we need another 135 years. In the last 2 years, the pandemic, the fight against women, fight for women's empowerment and violence against women and girls, we've gone back to 20-30 years. Lot of civil society is working, utna kaam. Last 2 years, we've seen that we are going back to bring girls out of schools. There are so many NGOs that are specifically working on to stop the school dropouts. If you see in states of Bihar and Jharkhand, Rajasthan, you see the girls are dropping out at the age of 13 and 14. Because that's the age they get married and the dowry is less. That is a known fact. So we are in a country where we know the figures and facts, but we can't act much. The government is trying and always will be trying. It doesn't matter which government is in power. It's not about the political system, it's about the mindset. What we need to do is we need to bring in policies to bring in that change. You know, why, at what stage, empower girls to keep them in schools, and that is the reason the emphasis should be given to basically improve the infrastructure within the schools. You know, very much important. We have a story from UP. We teach safe spaces. So we told the children, identify safe spaces within your schools and unsafe spaces within your schools. And one of the schools, the children identified unsafe spaces as a library, a school library. All of us were shocked. Even the teachers were shocked. The breakthrough team members were shocked. So it is very important to sensitize the adolescents at a very young age so that the mindset changes. When I say adolescents, I say girls and boys. To change societal mindset, and your fundamental answer to your question is until and unless we change the social norm, the mindset. The girls are sent to school, more years the girls are in schools, hence their age of marriage will increase. That's what we believe. When they are more years in schools and colleges, they will begin to aspire and dream about their careers. Once they aspire and dream about their careers, they will be aiming to gain financial independence. And once that is done, they will know their rights and duties that will empower girls. And to ensure that, now at a very young age, we need the society, the community to help them, right? To enable them to do that. So the change begins, there are the systemic changes we aspire.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Anurag, and I'm from Kids School of Mass Communication, first year. So my question to the panel is that, as it is evident that media makes stories mostly based on the upper caste, as it is headed by upper caste controls, and no necessary actions are being taken to change it. So, do you think in that regard social media can be the future? Because we have seen social media taking great strides in that regard. Because everyone is a producer and everyone can really spread the story and the message, and everyone has access to it. So, what's your take on that?
Okay. I was just, when you were asking question, I was counting few names. We have 8 major news channels in Odisha, and all is headed by 7 editors are from Brahmin caste and 1 is from Karna. Means all 8 are from upper caste. 8 newspapers is headed by Brahmin editors. So the fact is clear with that. And social media, when you see this, the whole Elon Musk thing is happening, actually social media, is it democratizing our society, or it is just a new enslavement process? ये सबसे बड़ी सवाल आज है कि you have to ask this question: is it really democratizing our society, or it's a new colonization, or new enslavement process? Everyone is a free content writer now. We all are free content writers. We are not paid, and Elon Musk is now coming to say that for writing you pay us. You write for us, but also you pay for us. So social media is he was talking about Satta Bazaar. There is a big Satta Bazaar involved with this whole social media game. And who is the owner of social media platforms? Imagine that day, what is that app which was returned from India? That Chinese app, TikTok. What kind of content he got away with? And social media का कोई accountability नहीं है. That's the biggest problem. They are not controlled by anything. And they can make comments, they can break comments, the kind of power they are getting. and the resources. That is dangerous. इससे पहले, at first look, it looks like, okay, social media is going to empower a common man, and common man will have a platform where he can be a citizen journalist, वगैरह वगैरह. But now it looks completely different.
देखिए, लेकिन हम जैसे लोगों के लिए सोशल मीडिया ही ताकत है, क्योंकि हमें तो मीडिया में रखा नहीं जाता. ठीक है, अब मेरा हाथ कटा है, मैं किसको बताऊं? सुनने वाला कोई है नहीं. मीडिया में कहते हैं भाई जर्नलिस्ट हो, अपना दुख नहीं बताना, दूसरों का दुख बताओ. तो भाई जब अपना दुख नहीं बता सकती तो मैं जर्नलिस्ट की बात की. तो सोशल मीडिया ही मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ी ताकत है. सोशल मीडिया पे ही हम लोगों ने ताकत बनाई है, सोशल मीडिया पे ही हम लोगों ने पहचान बनाई है. मूक नायक को कोई जानता है तो सोशल मीडिया से जानता है, मीना कोटवाल को कोई जानता है तो सोशल मीडिया से जानता है, और कहीं से हम लोगों को नहीं जानते. तो हम लोगों ने सोशल मीडिया पर ही मुद्दे उठाते हैं, क्योंकि सोशल मीडिया एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म है. अगर आप फेसबुक की बात करें तो फेसबुक थोड़ा सा भी सरकार के साथ है. ठीक है, यूट्यूब की गाइडलाइन भी बहुत सारी अलग अलग है, उसमें बहुत सारी चीजें आप नहीं दिखा सकते. ट्विटर की मैं बात करूं तो ट्विटर थोड़ा सा बचा हुआ है. ट्विटर पे आप मुद्दे भी उठा सकते हैं, ट्विटर पे बहुत सब तरह के लोगों को भी जगह भी दे रहा है, मेरी लगातार बातचीत भी उनसे हो रही है. तो वो सब चीजें वो कर रहा है. सोशल मीडिया पे आप मुद्दे उठाते हैं. अभी तक क्या हो रहा था कि कौन लोग मुद्दे उठा रहे थे हमारे, क्योंकि मीडिया पे तो हमारी बात नहीं सुनी जा रही ना. मीडिया में कौन लोग हैं जिससे बात हो रही है, तो वो हमारी बात सुन नहीं रहा है. तो हम लोगों ने क्या किया कि सोशल मीडिया पे अपना जो है प्रोफाइल बनाया, अपना सब कुछ उस पर लिखना शुरू कर दिया. लोगों ने वहां से मुद्दे उठाने लगे. अब हम लोग खुद अपना ट्रेंड करवा लेते हैं, हमें किसी और की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती. तो जो माइक है अब तक सबके पास नहीं पहुंचा रहे थे, तो वो माइक हम लोगों ने छीन लिया कि आप मत पहुंचाओ, हमारे पास खुद का माइक बन गया. हम लोग अपना टुकड़ा खुद दिखा सकते हैं वो सोशल मीडिया पे. ठीक है, थैंक यू.
We should also go for the Doordarshan and Akashvani also to get the right content, to get the non-sensational content. So I think when talking about the various TV channels, we are ignoring print media also, where we can talk and we can believe that the fact-based information, where we can have the real information. We are not into the cutthroat news war in the terms of broadcasting journalism also. The second thing, definitely social media, or we can call it a digital media. Digital media can be an alternate because the right platform, the right people, they have that platform to raise their voice. So we have the options now. We have the alternates now. It's only us like audience, what and where we want to go and what we want to watch or hear. So the option is with us all.
इसे छोटा सा आंसर मैं देना चाहता हूँ कि when you are talking about the public broadcast, this public broadcasting system was first questioned through प्रसार भारती, क्योंकि ऐसा लगा कि 1980s और 80s में उसका जो misuse हुआ, तो then we brought प्रसार भारती not to make it more inclusive, but it has again gone down to that 80 era. It's not giving an objective, or it's not giving a fair assessment of the society, or it's not giving the fact. तो उसका भी प्रॉब्लम है कि गवर्नमेंट का पीआर एजेंसी बन गया है, सोसाइटी का पीआर एजेंसी है क्या? If you are a public broadcaster, do you give equal space to other political parties? Everywhere. एक सेम एक जो लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड तो कहीं ना कहीं आपको बनाना पड़ेगा. That is not there. And number two, social media का again that this glorification. This is okay, we have a mic, okay, but इस mic का कितना distribution है, किसके पास सबसे ज़्यादा mic है? मीना हो या मैं भी हूँ, because I don't have a media house. I am also a freelancer. I also basically I depend on social media. But कभी भी मुझे म्यूट किया जा सकता है, वो खतरा भी है.
Hello. Thank you.
No.
Thank you, Professor.
Honorable Chairperson,
No.
our Madam Usharani, and fellow panelists, I congratulate for a very fine and very ice-breaking session. And I would like to bring you a few important points at the fag of this. First important thing I would like to correct, that the first editor, Dalit editor, was Tanubai Birje
from 1904 to 1910. She was editor of Dinabandhu, a weekly to propagate the idea of Mahatma Phule. Secondly, another important phenomenon I would like to bring to notice that when Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar edited Mukanai, Vaishnav Bharat, Prabhuddha Bharat, Janata, he wrote 5 newspapers. They lived just for 19 months, 20 months, or 2 years, 3 years like that. It is said, it not matter how much period they survived, it matters how they covered the issues. Now, regarding the social coverage of the atrocities of women and atrocities of Dalits, one important thing I would like to bring to notice that women and Dalits were equal. Mahatma Phule said in his English book, Shetkaracha Asur, विद्ये विना मति गेली, मति विना गति गेली, गति विना वित्त गेले, वित्ता विना शूद्र खचले, इतके अनर्थ एका अविद्येने गेले. That means there is a connection with the knowledge, speed, economy, life, and the conditions of the Shudras. इतके अनर्थ एका अविद्येने गेले. Due to lack of education, all these miseries have happened. So Phule has given a letter to the commission that all should be given equal education. About what is the connection between the women's atrocities and the atrocities of Dalits, very important phenomenon. Now the participation of women, participation of Dalits in media should increase. Media education should increase. Earlier it was just 0.4%. Today it has become 7%. In my university, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar University, every year at least 20 students are getting education and 100 students have got PhDs in media education. They are controlling various channels. So now the Thailand experience, you have listened from his voice of Shekhar Bharat Bhagat. Now there is another Siddharth Godam who is a reporter of Lokmat. Kashibai Thorat, who is a woman journalist, was in ETV. So these are some important examples. When you cover the issues, when you participate in the media newsroom effectively, they can give justice to the women, justice to the Dalits. So it is a responsible teacher. When I cover a story, as a reporter in 1970,
Still have a lot of questions, but I'm sure that they can interact with the panel. They are going to be here with us till 1 o'clock, and you can definitely interact. So we have come to the conclusion of this session, and the situation that is presented, the portrait here is very, very pathetic, but we are all optimists. Women are optimists. You prevent us, but we bulldoze our way and get it. That should be. But in media is such a, and religion and culture, when they are integrated and against women, you have to fight against very, very formidable forces, the religious forces, caste forces, and others. Now, I just media. I request. The other issue has been taken care of, like social media is the only alternative for women, and definitely there is even more visibility, it has given more visibility to women. Let me tell you, some of the noted journalists in India, women journalists, and even in Karnataka, whether it is Jayashree Alladi or Asha Krishnaswamy, they have left the newsrooms. They say it is claustrophobic. We can no longer work, we have no freedom. And what have they done? They have become independent journalists. Don't ever use the term freelance journalists. That was during our time we used to use that label. Use the term independent journalist, and you have all the freedom to contribute to online and the offline, the print and electronic media. So that is one very big good trend that we are saying. But friends, there are young friends, my beloved students are here, have zero tolerance to any sexual crimes against women. No religion, no caste, nothing should come in the way. Have zero tolerance. It can be today X and tomorrow it can be your own children. So have zero tolerance, because rape is the staple diet of media. But let us work to sensitize the media. In that case, I request the bridge to organize more programs, sensitization programs. We cannot just discuss the problem without suggesting solutions. We can work on this together, and we have to sensitize the journalists. And that is the message that this panel is giving. this we conclude that there is need for more diversity and inclusivity of women journalists in newsrooms, offline or online. If there is no opportunity, start your own. Okay? Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I have the support from wonderful panelists who are eminent and who have worked very hard. And you can definitely have linkages from these people, especially students. Need to talk to them. There is rich information, rich resources with all three of them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Usha. With that, your remaining questions can be answered outside the hall, but I am really, really thankful on behalf of Breakthrough. Just want to introduce my colleague Rukmini here. She leads our Odisha program, so if anybody wants to get in touch about Breakthrough, you can reach out to Rukmini. I also thank Rukmini for giving us the opportunity. Also, most importantly, thanking Professor Upendra Pali sir to give us this. This is the friendship. I think that Breakthrough and Pali sir, thank you so much. With that, we are moving on to the felicitation of Shri Kedar Mishra, senior journalist, and Meena Kotwal. Pali sir requested me.
Now time for Dipali madam. Dipali Desai.
Friends, now the fifth session, the fifth plenary session is over. Within a short while, we'll have the valedictory session. So I request you all, keep patience and allow us for 10 minutes to start the valedictory. I hope you don't leave the hall because very difficult is to request you all time and again to come to the auditorium. Kindly see the plight of an organizer. So I request you all, don't leave the auditorium, be with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to start the valedictory session of the 6th National Media Conclave. I would request everyone to take their seat at the earliest so that we can start the session. Everyone is requested to take their seat. All the research scholars are requested to take their seats at the earliest. After the valedictory session, we'll start, or in between the valedictory session, we'll do the felicitation and the award ceremony as well. Everyone, please take the seat. Requesting you to take the seat. Volunteers are requested to help the attendees to take the seats. Volunteers are requested to help the attendees to take the seats, please. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Amrita Chakrabarti, Assistant Professor of Media and Communication from School of Liberal Studies under Pandit Deendayal Energy University in Gandhinagar, Gujarat, and I shall be your moderator for the valedictory ceremony of the 6th National Media Conclave 2022. We are all aware of the Shakespearean play, "All is well that ends well." Nothing could possibly be more prophetic. After 2 days of intense deliberations, debates, arguments, counter-arguments, and pitching of noble ideas, the conference has reached its final stage on its third and final day. All different aspects of media and culture have been discussed, threadbare. Also, the scholars extensively deliberated on multiple cultural facets of media. There could not have been a better platform to anchor such a relevant discourse, the discourse that would substantially draw and further the course of action of media practice and media education vis-a-vis culture in India and even elsewhere. However, as it is the conference is far from over, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you a galaxy of stalwarts who will be enriching the valedictory session with their experience and eloquence. To start with, Let me invite the chairman of the session, Professor Upendra Padhi, who will be presenting his views. Professor Padhi needs no introduction and it would be redundant to offer his introduction to anyone here. Requesting Professor Padhi to come on dais. Our next speaker for the valedictory session, we shall have Professor Bhartu Parthasarathi Sanjay, who will enlighten the audience with the second closing address of the 6th National Media Conclave. Professor Sanjay is a senior professor with more than 43 years of experience in teaching, research and academic administration in several states, central and nationally eminent academic institutions. Following a long career in teaching, Professor Sanjay has joined Manipal Institute of Communication under Manipal Academy. Am I audible properly? So, I'm repeating Professor Sanjay's profile. We shall have Professor Bhartu Parthasarathi Sanjay, who will enlighten the audience with the second closing address of the 6th National Media Conclave. Professor Sanjay is a senior professor with more than 43 years of experience in teaching, research and academic administration in several states, central and nationally eminent academic institutions. Following a long career in teaching, Professor Sanjay has joined the Manipal Institute of Communication under Manipal Academy of Higher Education, MAHE, to share and enlarge the teaching and research activities of the institution. This is more of a mentoring role rather than an administrative role. Professor Sanjay is a legendary name in the world of media academics. Professor Sanjay served as the founding Vice Chancellor of Central University of Tamil Nadu. Prior to that, Professor Sanjay was the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Hyderabad and he was also the Director of the famed Indian Institute of Mass Communication, the premier institution in media in India. Professor Sanjay completed his PhD from Simon Fraser University in Canada and has been associated with academics since 1976. The first closing remark of today's ceremony, it will be given by Dr. Sasmit Patra, a member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha from Odisha and belongs to the Biju Janata Dal. He is the Chief Whip of BJP in the Rajya Sabha and also the National Speaker of the party. Professionally, he was a professor and dean of Xavier Indian Business School under Xavier University in Bhubaneswar. A business management and a law graduate, he is also registered as a lawyer with the Bar Council of Delhi. Dr. Patra is a Rajya Sabha member, has raised various issues related to the socio-economic and culture in the floor. His biggest achievement has been his role as the spokesperson of BJD, which has brought him into the limelight with a youth icon on Odisha. Dr. Patra has a good experience of public policy as well as academia and governance. Trained as a lawyer and as a media coordinator of the BJD, Patra has managed the IT and digital platform for his party. During his previous term as the Rajya Sabha, Dr. Patra has worked at various and has worked as the Vice Chairman of Rajya Sabha. He has also visited several countries, including the United States of America, the United Kingdom, France, the United Arab Emirates, Belgium, Croatia, etc. Dr. Patra has wide-ranging experience of working across all the four pillars of democracy: legislature, executive, judiciary, and media. A vice chairman of Rajya Sabha, he brings with him extensive knowledge of legislative practice. He has been renominated to Rajya Sabha by BJD for the second term in May 2022. The second closing address would be given by Professor Dr. N. Usha Rani, former Professor, Department of Studies in Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of Mysore in Mysuru, and will be delivering the first closing address of the 6th National Media Conclave. And the last address of valedictory session will be given by Dr. Gopalan Ravindran. He is currently the professor and head of the Department of Media and Communication under Central University of Tamil Nadu. He was the visiting fellow of the National Museum of Ethnology in Osaka, Japan, and between February to March 2020. Earlier, he served as the professor and head of the Department of Journalism and Communication, University of Madras, between 2008 to 2020. I would request all the guests for a floral greeting at the dais now. As the chairman of this session, I would request Professor Upendra Kadri to come and share his thoughts. Over to Professor Kadri.
Thank you, Amrita. We are very happy to welcome Dr. Sasmit Patra, honorable member of Parliament Rajya Sabha, as the chief guest of this valedictory ceremony. Dr. Patra, so many things told about him, and at least I can say Dr. Patra is a pride of our state and is very popular because of his debate and deliberations, the way he chaired the House, and he has earned a reputation across the country. Recently, as a delegate attending and chairing the session Inter-Parliamentary Union, he has proved his talents and the wisdom in various platforms representing the country. We are very happy to see him among us in this valedictory ceremony of this 6th National Media Conclave. We welcome you, sir, to our valedictory session. I remember the moment I called him and request him, you will be the guest, he immediately accepted. Thank you, sir. So, friends, we are at the end of this 3 days National Media Conclave, the 6th edition. A very tough task, very difficult to say you all that after short while, the 6th edition of the National Media Conclave is going to be closed. I hope you all have sweet or bitter experience and memories, but I hope during your 3-4 days stay in Bhubaneswar, when we leave Bhubaneswar, the capital city, the smart modern city Bhubaneswar, I hope you all will carry good memories with you to your university, to your state. I also welcome the friends, those who have come late yesterday night from Sri Lanka. I also welcome to them also to this 6th National Media Conclave Valedictory. Friends, it is a very formal responsibility as the part of the chairman of the National Media Conclave to thank everybody, starting from our inaugural session till the end of the 5th plenary session, including all parallel session chairpersons and co-chairpersons, those who have attended, those who have spent their valuable time, shared their rich experience, and made the whole 6th National Media Conclave successful. I thank all, and it is very difficult to name because the chief guest of this valedictory session has very limited time. Lot of calls have already come to him, and very shortly he will finish his all discussions and he will attend another program. So I don't want to take much time just by naming all the guests. It is very difficult. But anyway, again, on behalf of the 6th National Media Conclave, I welcome and I also thank personally, express my sincere gratitude and thanks to all the guests, starting from the inaugural till the 50 plenary session and those have session there and the panel speakers, all of them. So friends, as you all know, the theme was, the 6th Media Conclave theme was media and culture. You have all supported around 80 research papers have read out in 5 plenary sessions yesterday. Very nicely, and the best paper presenters will be awarded today. And also this time, also we are going to felicitate Chandigarh University Department of Journalism as the best media institute of the country. Best media institute of the country. That is the 6th National Media Conclave award will be given to them. So I thank the faculties, Tishuji and Dr. Fakir Mohan Naik, who have come all along from Chandigarh University to attend this program. And particularly and personally, I thank Fakir Mohan Naik, the way he coordinated and conducted the 2 days cultural program. It was totally marvelous. So my sincere thanks to you, and I convey my sincere thanks and regards to you all to carry this message to your university and to your vice chancellor. Thank you. So with these words, I don't want to extend my speech. As I told you, the chief guest of this program is very busy. So with these words, I thank you all again, spending your valuable time coming to Bhubaneswar, attending the 6th National Media Conclave and making it a grand success. Thank you. So one more request to our chief guest, Dr. Sasmit Patra, that I will request Professor B.P. Sanjay, who can give a closing remark of 5 minutes duration, what we did actually during these 3 days, just to advise our chief guest, and after that, our chief guest will speak. So this is the very little change. So now I request Professor B.P. Sanjay to come and to give the closing remarks. He opened the session by his opening remarks. Now we request him to give his closing remarks. As because he is the real Sanjay, who viewed this 3 days conclave in his close eyes, what is wrong and what is right. and we all decided to request Professor B.P. Sanjay to have an insight and to give the real feedback, so that you all will carry that feedback, which will help us to go for and plan for this 7th National Media Conclave. Thank you.
Honorable guest of honor, Shri Upendra Padi, Chairman of the NMC 6, 2022, distinguished fellow colleagues, Ravindran and Usharani, and many young delegates and senior academicians in the audience. When you offer your opening remarks, you have a sense of expectation, and also based on the preliminary reading of the conference papers, etc., you have a understanding of what is in store for the coming days. In the valedictory, when you close the remarks, we often look at the takeaways from this conference. Media and culture, no doubt, was an ambitious theme that the organizers had decided to plan. And as many speakers during the 3 days have explained, it is not a single one-size-fits-all perspective that can be offered on this contentious subject. Nevertheless, I would divide the takeaways into an institutional perspective takeaway that particularly came from the omnibus Department of Culture, Government of India, which offered us the many different dimensions of how the state looks at culture, how the state looks at the diversity and plurality. We also had another institutional perspective coming from the Council for Education Consortium, CDC, which highlighted the educational dimension, educational function. As all of you know, education is one of the 6 major functions of communication. Then we had very scholarly insights into not just the relationship between media and culture, but also a sense of interrogation of the realities of what our media is, and also the cultural manifestations in the media. Perspectives on philosophy, continuity of thinking in this field were offered. And also we had a very interesting dimension on the emerging notions of indigenous perceptions and perspectives of culture. There are several contestations when you look at indigenous perspectives, but nevertheless, the plenary speakers and the participants were able to negotiate and understand what this means. The planners had also had intersecting themes. Intersecting themes is a very interesting concept by default they may have developed, wherein you are forced to think on the whole notion of, let us say, the relationship between economy and culture. For example, the sessions on Atmanirbhar was clearly indicated to look at self-reliance in the dynamics of the working culture, the industrial culture, the manufacturing culture. That was one view that was positive. We also had a very major intersecting theme on religion and humanism, the embedded nature of one in another, or the humanism in religion, or religion and humanism. And we had very interesting critique of media. Youngsters had a lot of questions on role, functions, etc., expectations, aspirations. But I think the panelists were successfully being able to tell them that one, of course, is the ascribed function that all of us know. One is the critical function. There was a lot of introspection about our media system as well. Is it promoting a particular kind of a culture? Is it exclusionary in nature? Is it inclusion? Some of those issues were not only presented by the panelists, but heavily interrogated by the audience. The hallmark of NMC 6 2022 was the nature of interesting insights that came from the floor. And of particular relevance is the interesting insights that the young students asked questions. They were brilliant and sometimes innocent, but innocence also has a lot of significance in our society. When they ask a question, it is exploratory, but in the exploratory nature of that is a deep insight. And I congratulate the nature and quality of questions that came from this. We also had an opportunity to participate in the parallel sessions. The quality and nature of presentations, as some of the observers have pointed out, was very insightful. But like all beginners, one cannot be too critical. These are young minds, 22, 24 years. They're exploring. We have to give them a certain sense of time for understanding the criticality. But the issues that they flagged, uses, abuses, spread, access, equity, augmented reality, virtual reality, I think all displayed a sense of an active engagement with the media ecosystem. And I think the hallmark of NEMC this time and all other times has been the unique opportunity that Pade and company gives to the 60 or 80, I call them as emerging scholars. They are I always tell in my opening remarks to Pade, whenever he asks me for, what should I say, a decorative message to flag the NMC, I always say that this highlight, that the opportunity it gives. There is no other forum for emerging scholars in the country. All are heavy registration fees, heavy filtering systems. Not that we did not have peer review, we had peer review. And they, I think, are the hallmark. One other interesting thing that can happen is, apart from the parallel sessions, the next time NMC is organized, which I'm sure, there could be interactive workshop in the afternoon by the panelists to the young scholars, at least one day in 3 or 4 sessions, because the panelists perhaps come from different areas, they can do it. One other takeaway before I wind up is what I would call it as the furthering of the idea of the Indian Communication Congress. The idea has been floated. It requires an institutional build-up. And when you have people like Padi, institutional idea and idea push is guaranteed. There's no two opinion on that. He's a agenda pusher, not in a negative sense, but agenda pusher in a very positive sense. And I'm sure that Padi or Biplar or even Ravi or some of my other colleagues will take it forward. I have formulated one short sentence of what the takeaway feeling can be. I'll read it out and close my comment. The NMC 6 2022, while focusing on a very broad theme of media and culture, offered institutional, civil society, scholarly, empirical, and intersectional perspectives on various sub-themes that included issues of social exclusion and inclusion. Emerging scholars offered their formative perspective on augmented and virtual reality. The idea of Indian Communication Congress was furthered at the conclave, with the first meeting likely in Bangalore. I have other extensive notes which I'll share it with Upendra Padi because the guest of honor has a very busy schedule. I'll stop and I have closed at 4.5 minutes or probably 5 minutes and 2 seconds. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Sanjay, for this
Very remarkable speech, and just a quick snapshot about what he talked about. He very much appreciated the participation of the students as the audience and asking very notable, remarkable questions. And
he definitely talked about furthering the idea of the Indian Communication Congress.
so, with that, I would like to invite the chief guest of the session, Dr. Sashmit Patil, for his speech. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Upendra Padi, Conclave Chairman and Director of IMS under Utkal University. Our chief guest for today, who should have been Shri Rohit Pujari ji, Honorable Minister, is not available. He's somewhere very busy at the moment. We have with us on the days Professor N. Usha Rani ji, Professor B.P. Sanjay ji, Dr. Gopalan Ravindran ji, Dr. Amrita Chakraborty ji. The vote of thanks would be given by Shri Manoranjan Panda ji. Faculty colleagues from various institutions of media from across the country, students, staff members, members of the press and media, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a privilege and a joy to be with you this afternoon at the National Media Conclave 2022 being organized by IMS under the leadership of Professor Padi. Firstly, my apologies for the very rush situation. You never catch politicians when elections are around. Never catch politicians. That's a very bad time, You catch them at any other time, but not around elections. So right now there's a by-election going on, so everybody's kind of helter-skelter. But the beautiful part is always interacting, always talking to academia. And having been a former academician, of course, not from media, but from the field of management, I have always felt that probably there is a growing divide between academia's perspective and what really happens on the ground outside in the real world. I don't know much about media, though I am a spokesperson of my party for some time. But in my role as an academician for about 1.5 decades, whenever we used to speak about management or academics per se, whatever you teach, whatever you profess, whatever you research, whatever you expect doesn't work out on the ground when it actually comes to reality. How a product is sold doesn't really emanate from a Philip Kotler marketing book. Similarly, what happens at prime time at NDTV or Times Now or Republic or India Today does not really emanate from the very idea of what media is or should be at times. So the first aspect I would like to share with you very briefly is, while we do research, while we do talk, while we do converse, while we do interact, while we do engage, while we do all of these activities that you have been doing for the last 3 days, and listening to people for the last 3 days, it's a very tough job to listen for 3 days. But when you've done all of this in 3 days and we have research materials and we have conversations, which is wonderful, because that really drives the intellect and the insight that we have within us that leads to building of something new. But let's also be mindful about what's happening in real world. Otherwise, as academicians, we always have the luxury that we are into academics. We have academic freedom. That's the beautiful 2 words that usually used. The academic freedom to think, ideate, engage, and disseminate. But the difficult part would be you students going out when suddenly your editor says, let's talk about religion in a certain sense this evening at prime time. And you are there to push that agenda. You do not have the decision to tell the editor or the editorial desk or to the person who's driving the agenda that, no, I think we should talk about culture. It doesn't work that way. At least that's what the television channels and the newspapers tell me. I don't know if it works any other way. In Delhi, when I asked some of my friends in media who are running some of the very prominent anchors as well, said, यही दिखता है. यही दिखता है. लोग यही देखते हैं. जो लोग देखते हैं वो हम दिखाते हैं. मैं health बताऊं, education बताऊं, I talk about other things, culture, TRP नहीं आता. People don't watch. So whatever sells, I sell. Whatever people want to see, I show. Is it a news-driven, media-driven entity, or is it demand-driven media today? I think that's a question that you need to think as you go forward as students. I'm not talking about professors here, I'm not talking about academicians. They've already been there, done it. So this understanding has to be there that while we ideate and we think and we believe in certain ideas, when we get into the editorial world and the editor tells us to toe a certain line, a certain agenda, rightly or wrongly, we are supposed to do that. Otherwise, become a YouTuber. That's the other option that you have. Try to monetize the YouTube channel that you have and try to sustain. Some are doing it under the name of independent media. So I think going forward, the National Media Conclave has opened various ideas and thoughts and insights, and I'm sure in the coming days it will again provide. This is the 6th edition. There will be many more editions going forward. But one thing, young friends, young students, try to read between the lines. The day you step out of an academic world, you get into the real world, it's not a very hunky-dory situation. Neither in any profession. Whether it's management, it is law, it is media, the idea and the word of journalism. Is journalism as an idea and as a word exactly the same as it was in the year 2000? Ask yourself. And that should speak volumes to you how journalism has changed. If you're not a journalist, how do you drive the media? That is why you're into media, not to manage a media, but to drive the very idea of what media stands for, being the 4th estate of society. I do not have much to say. I'd like to just wrap up saying this. Academics empowers you with ideas. Reality tries to rob them. Try to hold them. Because that is the concern today in society. And I'm not taking sides here. Who's right, who's wrong. You look at one perspective, the other perspective room's wrong. You go to the other perspective, this one looks wrong. So I'm not here to say who's right, who's wrong. But whichever side you are on, today there will be definitely an agenda. This is what I want to interpret, because news is not being communicated. News is not being disseminated. News is being created and interpreted and shoved into the media, through the media, to the viewers, that this is right and that is wrong. That was never the idea of media. Media was to communicate. Newsrooms were not supposed to create, to interpret, to take lines, to draw lines and tell you what is right, what is wrong. They were not to be preaching. So my dear young friends, as you go ahead in life, wish you all the very best. I thank Sri Padi, Professor Padi, for kindly inviting me. And my apologies again for having to rush in and rush out. I wish I could spend more time. Earlier when I was a teacher and I was to be a student, these conferences were great fun because, you could sit and you could listen. But every 30 seconds now with WhatsApp, there is something popping up. And each of it is a fire that is burning and has to be done. As I speak, my opposition party is already doing a press meet, which I'm supposed to again counter, either through a written or a verbal medium. So while I speak to you, already media is talking about various things. That is the reality of media today. Every minute, every second, stories are being made. Every minute, every second, stories are being disseminated. Every minute, every second, narratives are being set and deconstructed. So as media, you do not have a space to sit. You do not have a space to idle. You do not have the time to even breathe. Because by the time you have breathed, something new has happened in another media and you're playing catch up. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sasmit Patra, for this sharp remark about the current scenario on Indian media. And just to draw highlights about what he spoke, he said that for the last 3 days, we have been doing a lot, but the most important and the challenging thing is that to listen to each other for the last 3 days. He raised the issues on what the media is showing us now, and he shared the reality with the students on what the students are going to face after they hit the industry, and the reality about the journalism and media at the present scenario. And the most remarkable line that he said is, the academics empowers you with the ideas, but the reality tries to hold them. Thank you so much, Dr. Patra. I would request you to felicitate the award ceremony now. The National Media Conclave Award. So that is the Best Journalism and Mass Communication Institute of the Country Award. And it is given to the University Institute of Media Studies of Chandigarh University. I would like to invite Dr. Trishu Sharma for receiving the award. Dr. Sasmit Patra, I would request you to be on stage for a few more minutes just to felicitate the Best Paper awardees for all the 5 parallel sessions. So, for parallel session 1, the best paper is to Miss Nimisha Suryanshi. Miss Nimisha Suryanshi, please come on stage. The next from parallel session 2
Ashwini, anyone else from Ashwini's part who can come and receive? Okay, from parallel session 3, it is Ms. Pooja Kumari from parallel session 3. Pooja Kumari from parallel session 3. From parallel section 4, it is Vivek Nagaraju. From parallel section 4, Mr. Vivek Nagaraju. From parallel section 4. And from parallel section 5, it is Dr. Anand Mehta. Congratulations to all the Best Paper awardees. And now I would request the Professor Upendra Patni and the panelists to felicitate Dr. Sambit Patra for his gracious presence at this occasion. Thank you, everyone. So we are continuing with our valedictory session. Now, I would like to request the second speaker for the closing ceremony is Professor Dr. N. Usha Gandhi. Ma'am, the dance is over to you.
Esteemed panelists, moderator, and my colleagues and friends and lab students. We have come to the end of the 3-day media conclave, and we are happy that we were able to complete our job. And I must at that outset congratulate Professor Upendra Padi for for organizing this media conclave. And this is a very important event. This has become a national event today. And we look forward to participating in this media conclave. And uh, it requires a lot of courage. I'll be brief and just take a few minutes. And it requires a lot of courage for any organizers to work on a theme like media and culture. Because nowadays the trend is to have anything social media, trend is to have new media, and those kind of things are attracting the attention of youngsters. But Professor Padi, with one stroke of pen, has succeeded in bringing back all of us to what we were missing in the academics. So there was a big gap, there was a big void in our academics, and that was a culture vacuum that has been looked into. A lot of insight has been thrown at this particular neglect over the years. Why I'm saying neglect is there are very few. I went through the academic body of work on media and culture as well as media and religion. There are very few studies, and there is depth of academic, decent academic body of work on this subject of religion and media, media and culture. So this is where, because researchers in communication, they always were involved with empiricism, empirical research. So religion and culture are two aspects which are more qualitative. As a result, they were not able to enough contribute to the scholarship of this field. That's why I appreciate the takeaway is we have come back to our roots. You know, we have come back to our roots, and with the emergence of social media, we need to be rooted in our culture. So culture is communication, communication is culture, and that has been very well said. And media and culture, media and religion are all interdependent. And all the 5 sessions, plenary sessions, were covered very broad, vital, specific areas of religion, of media and culture. One is the cultural pluralism, because India, when you youngsters will be wondering what is this pluralism, and so it is how we get recognition of the subcultures by the dominant culture. So there were a lot of deliberations on this media pluralism. So we have given a lot of insight into this area and social media and skill India and digital culture was also. So digital culture is one issue where it requires immediate attention because it is already building one different type of culture, and we are good at labeling. We have called it as digital culture. So is it a popular culture or is it something else? So that is where we have to understand the kind of culture norms it is evolving in representing culture and religion. Then there was one more thing, media margin, right-based inclusive society. Of course, I was looking forward to the not the rights, but right-wing politics, because today youngsters are also worried about the way religion is portrayed in the media, how we brand religion, and so a lot of ideas have been given, a lot of studies have been shared in this kind of multi-religious scenario, and how media is interpreting religion and how media is and it has created a new narrative. And is it the dominant narrative? Is it acceptable? So we have thrown many questions at you, and so we have to. And there is branding of religion, and whether it is Shiv Mandir or Ram Mandir or anything. So is it possible to have this kind of scenario in media? In society you can have, but can you have this kind of scenario in media? And what happens to the subcultures? Okay, the subcultures and the other cultures. The other culture is what we should be worried about. And I think media, culture, religion gave us a lot of information, lot of insights into this issue of treating religion and media, because there is more visibility to some of the religious functions, whether it is Ayodhya or Kashi or Ganesh festival or Durga Puja. So Durga Puja has already been given the UN tag. So the youngsters have to work on this. What kind of visibility are we giving to the religion And what happens in this scenario to the subcultures, to the minority cultures, and the cultures of others? Is it the dominant narrative, or the very well discussed and even sensitive issues, even the most controversial issues were discussed without raising voice. We discussed religion, we discussed culture, but we never became emotional and we never raised our voice. We just presented in a very cool manner and dignified manner, and that is what I appreciate with students, even when they ask questions. My goodness, it is mind-boggling questions have been asked by the students, and I appreciate, I congratulate the students for participating. So in this particular issue. The other takeaway, I borrow the word from Professor Sanjay, that is that we have given enough material, enough discussions to get an Indian perspective of all these issues. So enough of the Western perspective. Let us have Eastern and let us have Indian perspective on culture, religion, and media representation of them. Friends, it has always been, I look forward to this conclave because this is my third or fourth visit to the temple city, and each time I have gone back more learned. And I am a student like you, and learning is a continuous process. I come attend the conference to conduct dialogues, and dialogues continue. And I wish all of you best of luck in your chosen career. And youngsters have a lot of opportunities. Please take this conference very seriously. And let us all appreciate one important aspect. We have been attending national, international conferences, but nowhere the complete publication is brought up on the very first day. And Professor Upendra Padi has brought out the publication, and that needs to be, hands down, it has to be appreciated. Because nowhere, it is only we get, even I keep attending the Moscow readings, and there you get the proceedings. Later on, you get the paper, full paper. So, but you get the conference proceedings. But here it is not conference proceedings. Your entire paper was published, and you can take home the publication with you. So this is and hospitality was good, and and it was very nice interacting with all my Korean colleagues, students, and friends. They took very nice care of us. Thank you so much for your hospitality, Professor Padi, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor and Sarani Madam. So, we have only one speaker, who is also our founding member of the National Media Conclave, Professor Rabindra Gopal. Before that, we will invite three participants, guests, speaker, and delegates, whatever you may call, but all are our guests, to share their views and feedback. That is the usual practice in our all concluding validated session. So likewise, I want to invite and request Professor B.L. Dharunkar, he is one of the senior most emeritus professor and former vice chancellor, to come to dais to share his views and feedback. Or should I call the youngsters one, and after that we will call sir? So first we will go for Dr. Sunayan Bhattacharya, who is an associate professor in Bangalore. Sunayan Bhattacharya, and he is part of the editing team, the peer reviews committee, and he extended all possible support from his side regarding the publication part. And I request Dr. Sunayan to come to dais and share his feedback.
Thank you, Professor Ravi. I'll make it very brief. National Media Conclave is very close to my heart for the past 3 years. For the first time, I came in 2019. 2020, 2021 were online conferences. I participated in those conferences as well. And I was looking forward to this conference in 2022 as well, because this is the first time for the past 3 years that we have had the opportunity of having a physical conference. As convenient as online conferences are, physical conferences give us the opportunity to actually meet people. And I think that was one of the most important things that National Media Conclave did. In terms of feedback, I think I'm going back richer in terms of knowledge, in terms of knowing people, in terms of understanding the whole multiverse of media and culture for that matter. Everything was picture perfect. We all know the struggles that go behind these cartoons. We all know that. I'm not getting into that. But I think in terms of the organization of the event, I think everything was picture perfect. Right from the way the guests were handled to how discussions were done and how things were managed. Apart from that, nothing else. And thank you very much, Professor Pati, and I'm pretty sure that you will continue having this conversation in the next years to come as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sunal. So, wait with presence. Now, I would like to request Professor Dr. Bindu Sharma, and she's from Kurukshetra University, and it is his first visit to Odisha, and I request Madam to come to dais, share her feedback.
Respected senior media educators on the dais and my fellow faculty members and dear students. I asked my first visit to Odisha and first chance to attend the National Media Conclave. I was expecting it to be enriched experience, but it's more than that. And I'm going back as more enriched in terms of knowledge, in terms of having experiences, and the journey will continue. I wish very best to Professor Pade for excellent organization skills. I'm impressed, and that's why I'm telling him right from the beginning. And very valuable insights shared by our senior media educators, and very happy to see young presenters, young scholars who are very serious in research and very particular about research methodology. So I'm very hopeful and optimistic that this Indian Communication Congress, it would bring more positive changes in the scenario of media education in India. Congratulations, Professor Pade. Congratulations, organizers. So hope to see you all in 2023. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bindu Madam. Certainly your feedback will help us and boost us to go ahead and plan for the 7th National Media Conclave 2023. Thank you. So now I request Dr. Mirrandan Patra, though he is the son of the soil. So first time he joined in the National Media Conclave physically. So now I request Dr. Patra to come to the dais and share his feedback.
I'll start with a confession. I'm feeling very sorry that I missed the first 3 editions. The last 2 editions, the online editions, I joined, I watched from home. For the first 3 editions, I Must have missed a lot of fun. Feeling bad about that. But esteemed elders, the Margdarshan Mandal, as I call them, not so young teachers, and very young, some presenters and dear students. First of all, I would like to say we have thanked Professor Padiyana, but we cannot thank him enough. But I want to thank his team and his students and the students from other journalism and media departments. They also have been working very tirelessly. And a huge round of applause from all of us, to all the team members and students. And a word of thanks to all the people who have sponsored this. Because without good money and good sponsors, an event like this, I don't think it's going to be possible. It takes the managerial skills of Professor Upendra Padi. I don't call him Upendra, he is Purna Indra. He is the Mahaindra in this matter. In the matter of management, he is second to none. But again, it takes the grace of the graciousness of all the sponsors. And I would like to, on behalf of all the participants, I would like to thank them also. And then here is looking forward to the next year. And hope it's here or Bangalore, I don't know. Bangalore. We have not decided it yet. Wherever it is going to be. I hope to see you all there. And thank you everybody. Thank you all the friends. I'm going back to a lot of memories, new friends, meeting old friends. And thank you young friends. Thank you for all your love. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Meeran Patra. Where is Mr. Savale? Oh, yes. Santosh, now I request Mr. Santosh Savale from Maharashtra, though he visits and join the National Media Conclave, it is first meeting with the National Media Conclave. Please come and share your feedback.
थैंक यू भूपेंद्र पाजी सर। हम काफी साल से अलग अलग स्टेट में जाते हैं, कॉन्फ्रेंस अटेंड करते हैं। वहाँ का जो हर एक प्रांत का की संस्कृति है, परंपरा है, एजुकेशन फैसिलिटीज है, कम्युनिकेशन है, हम एक दूसरे से लेते हैं, बातें करते हैं काफी। लेकिन हम यहाँ इस प्रांत में पहली बार आए, 3 दिन से यहाँ जो मीडिया से जुड़े हुए मास कम्युनिकेशन के स्कूल के जो बच्चे हैं, यहाँ का स्टाफ है, पूरे देश से आए हुए हमारे सभी जिन्होंने यहाँ पर पेपर प्रेजेंट किया, उनसे काफी हमने कम्युनिकेशन किया, अच्छा लगा। और यहाँ पे जो हमारे अरेंजमेंट की गई रहने की, खाने की, या और यहाँ का जो किट यूनिवर्सिटी का जो कैंपस है बहुत अच्छा लगा। हम काफी इम्प्रेस हुए इस यूनिवर्सिटी के बारे में, इस कैंपस के बारे में। हमने इसके पहले बहुत बार पढ़ा था, सुना था, यूट्यूब पर देखा था, लेकिन यहाँ पर आने से जब हम अपनी आंखों से देखते हैं तो उसका एक अलग जो समाधान मिलता है, उसका शब्द में कहना बहुत कम रहेगा। अमूल्य ठेवा हम यहाँ से लेकर जा रहे हैं और हम आशा करते हैं कि ये जो नेशनल मीडिया कॉन्क्लेव है, ये इसका जो आगे वाला जो सफर रहेगा वो और भी अच्छा रहेगा। और हम इस IMS के जो सभी वॉलंटियर्स हैं जिन्होंने इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जो पर्दे के पीछे से काम किया है, उन्हीं सभी का हम शुक्रिया अदा करते हैं। और अगले साल जो कॉन्फ्रेंस होगी उसके लिए धन्यवाद देते हैं।
Thank you for your feedback. So, the last youngsters, what I will call him? I always call him young.
So now it is time for Professor Patil Monnak
from Chandigarh University, Department of Institute of Media Studies.
नसा सभाजत्र न सन्ति वृद्धा न ते वृद्धा जो न वदन्ति धर्मं नसा धर्म जत्र न सत्यमस्ति न तत् सत्यम जत् छलनानुविद्धम्. We all are working for truth, सत्य. Journalism teaches us truth. वो सभा सभा नहीं जहाँ बुजुर्ग नहीं, वो बुजुर्ग बुजुर्ग नहीं जो धर्म की बात नहीं करते, वो धर्म धर्म नहीं जो सत्य नहीं है, वो सत्य सत्य नहीं अगर उसे छलना या षड्यंत्र से घेरा गया हो. तो हम उस सत्य के पुजारी हैं और उस सत्य को उजागर करने के लिए, उस सत्य को जीने के लिए, to live that truth, we all are here. I'm very much thankful to all my teachers. Being a son of a teacher, I know what does it mean to be a teacher and to be in the guidance of a teacher. I bow my head to all my gurus present over here, and I bow my head before all the gurus present in front of me. It was a nice experience since last 2.5 months. We all are working together. Thanks to Professor Padi sir, who has the driving force, and he tried to coordinate with all, guide all, and he has given responsibility to me, to Sunanji, and to all other volunteers, those who are closely associated with this organization of this 6th National Media Conclave. And thank you, sir, for providing us this opportunity. And by this way, we are learning how to organize the things. I know that today or tomorrow, the barrel will be on us, and we will have to carry it. We will have to carry it forward. And I hope all my young friends will agree with me that yes, we will carry it forward to the generation next. Thank you all for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Patil. Young friends, so don't be disappointed. You have presented your all research papers or hard work yesterday reading out 5 plenary sessions. Don't be disappointed and worried. After a short while, we will all invite you to the dais. You all will receive your certificates from our senior professors from the dais. So, waiting patience another 15 to 20 minutes. So now I request Professor V.L. Dhanukar to come to dais and share his feedback. Thank you.
My friend Professor Sanjay, Dr. Usha Rani, Upendra Padiji. I remember those old days when we met for the first time in Hyderabad with Abdul Rahim's invitation for a workshop in mass communication and journalism education in 1986. All of us were present. A long way has gone and we have come up to this level. Uttishta Jagrata Charveti Charveti, said Swami Vivekananda. And in Bangla language, he used to say, Surya Bimba Hobe, be like a sun, be like unconquered, and be like youth.
That is a very important message of Swami Vivekananda. When he delivered his speech in the World Religious Congress, he was not invited by the organizers, but he himself took an initiative and entered. He was recommended by Professor Martin of the Harvard University. Here is a great man who is able to communicate his ideas more better than American professor. Then he was invited, the professor, to the Harvard University, to the University of Michigan, and 3 American universities. Now, this conference has come to an end, but it has given a message of reconstruction, a message of renovation, and a message of revival. A revival of culture in new ideas, a revival of communication in a new dimension, and revival of the whole humanity. Women and Dalits, they are downtrodden. They were not given an equal share. The takeaway of this message is that, of this conference is that, let us build a new vision, a new action of humanity, communication based on humanity. When Maharishi Vyasa wrote Mahabharata of 180,000 verses, he was asked by the Brahmins of Kashi to give us message of Mahabharata in only one line. Then Vyasa said, Namanusham kimapi asti yadyapi. Nothing is so important than a human being in the world. That was the message of Mahabharata. That is the message of this conference. Nothing is so important than a human being. Bertrand Russell once asked, he said, no society can exist on European ideas. In every society, every individual has to do something for the good of society. I think Upendra Party has done the best for the betterment of the Indian media education. And this National Media Convention has been transformed now. As Modi ji often said, reform, perform and transform. Upendra Party has transformed this NMC into Indian Communication Congress. I am life member of Indian History Congress from 1975, and I feel Indian Communication Congress will be a bold step ahead. It will be a turning point. It can be a seed, a revolution for the change. It can be a sowing machine of seed, which can sow the seeds of revolution. It will be a running manifesto to bring a change in the communication education. I hope with a minimum membership of life member, minimum membership of the annual membership, with a fine contribution of a book, revision, manifestation of ideas every year, we will make Indian Communication Congress a more grand success by taking the ideal example of NMC 2006. And I invite all of you to organize, to attend NMC 2007 in the Baba Saheb Ambedkar Baroda University. I talked to Vice Chancellor Pramod Levle. He told that Tatvataha he has given a recognition. And 2007 NMC will be in Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, whose university emblem is with Jnaneshwar saying, Jnanechi Ati Jnanechi Pavitrata. Nothing is so sacred than of knowledge. Knowledge is the eternal revelation of ideas. The same idea Dr. Ambedkar carried. He said, one who gets education, he will roar like a lion. And when he established Milling College, he gave a slogan, educate, unite and organize to the exploited youth. In Bombay legislation, in 1929, Dr. Ambedkar gave an out-frame statement about Indian education. He was talking on an amendment bill of Bombay University, and he said, we have to change the education. Education should not remain in the ivory towers of the universities and colleges. Education should go to people and solve the problems of the common man, Dalits and women. So Dr. Ambedkar's vision of education, with the universities being cherished, relishing, giving a new light of interaction. And when I was an IQAC coordinator, the university got Baba Saheb Ambedkar Baroda got A grade. Now the university has got A++ and marching ahead towards excellence. Being a center in which you will get education for the women, for the poor in only 1,000 rupees. Our annual fees is just 1,000 rupees for a PG course. Can you imagine when the courses people are charging 3 lakh, 4 lakh rupees? We give a Master of Liberal Arts for only 1,000 rupees. So that is what the poorest of the poor and the best of the best. So it is President of America, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, whose lectures have been published in a book titled as, in a very important book, Fireside Chats, in which he said, oh, I would like to devote the the problems created by great depression from the grassroots. I would like to reform education. I would like to recover industries. I would like to release the unemployment, and I would like to reform agriculture. That was a new deal he provided. So, if you want to emancipate the poorest of the poor and make India a strongest nation, we require a new deal of change. And this new deal is going to provide by the communication education, by the media education. Let us turn the wheel of the time march towards quality and excellence. When Wilbur Schramm was asked, what is the social responsibility of the media? He said, excellence is the greatest responsibility in mass communication. Let us march towards excellence. Let us turn the wheel of the time. Let us make India a superpower. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you, Padi sir. Thank you, Padi sir, for all the best services you have provided. Thank you, Professor Sanjay, for your enlightenment speeches. Thank you, all of you. Wish you all the best, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Darulkar, for your feedback and analysis. Friends, with your love, affection, and support, continued support of last 7 years, NMC has come to this stage. And NMC, National Media Conclave, is a continuing conclave of media scholarships. And it will continue. It will not transfer. It will not transfer. So, but your all support and cooperation that will help us to carry forward this conclave in future. So, again, with all of your feedback and support, we are all sure that will help us when we plan for the 7th National Media Conclave in 2023. So before inviting Professor Ravindran Gopalan, since after this, so Mike will not allow me to come to your front. So it's like that. So I would like to thank all our organizing committee members. I don't want to name them over here. All our organizing committee members and all of our staffs and all of our student volunteers, media friends, the event manager team, and all the participants and the delegates from the core of my heart for their support and cooperation to make this National Media Conclave. And personally, I thank all the panelists because I have shortage of words to thank all the panelists and the session chairs for their support and cooperation to make this 6th National Media Conclave an academic rich program. Thank you all. Again, I thank Rukmini Konda Madam, State Head of Breakthrough, for their continued support to make the 6th National Media Conclave a successful one, sponsoring, supporting one plenary session. Thank you, friends. So now, Amrita Madam will coordinate, and you wait with patience. Maybe 15-20 minutes. We'll wind up this valedictory session. Thank you.
I would request Dr. Gopalan Ravindran to come and deliver his speech. And after that, we are going to have the closing ceremony, that is the award ceremony for all the participants to get their certificate and the vote of thanks.
Okay, good afternoon. I won't take much time except to remind the young scholars here who will be the torchbearers of the discipline in the years and decades to come. few of my thoughts. However, let me at the outset thank Professor Padi for his kindness, love and affection. I won't be here without his repeated calls, reminding that I've been coming here since the first event I should make it. I was not in your mind to come because of commitments. I'm here because of Professor Padi, not for anything else. And I'm also here for my love for students and my hope that someday we will stop talking and start working in the discipline of communication. When it happens, there will be a game changer. Indians are prone to this talking, doing less, particularly in the case of communication. When I entered Madras University, I was told that journalism, communication had a certain history with a certain year. And I was also taught as a master student, as you are taught. About communication wrongly. We continue to teach, I am emphatic about it, we continue to teach something about the discipline wrongly. That must change. And we are also caught up in the winds of market-driven changes, which have come to influence our idea or notion of what is communication. And I'm not blaming the ancestors for this. All of us have to share the blame. And blame game is a very futile one. These have to be seen as journeys that have succeeded or journeys that have failed. One of the powerful metaphors used by the first great communication philosopher of this land, Buddha, is the metaphor of journey. And in his notion, you can't travel the path until you become the path yourself. We are being told that the path is external to us. So the path has to be internalized. This can be captured differently when you invoke the words of Mahatma Gandhi. Be the change you want to become. So these are no different words of wisdom. So let us remind ourselves about what Buddha said, that you can't travel until you become the path. Until you become the path. And this is necessary going by the changes, transformations scholars in the discipline have experienced in different countries. And my only suggestion to young scholars is you should be inspired by someone to become the path yourself, to make the journey. You can't travel alone. This person could be a living person or a dead person. This person could be a living scholar or a dead scholar or philosopher. But we need the support of this person to make this journey possible, to make this one a successful one. And the journeys made by the greats in our discipline provide us a lot of clues about what is problematic in communication studies in many countries of the world as we are becoming part of this annual event NMC. So this must make us think as it is making us to belong to a fraternity, as it is making us to cultivate a collective cultural memory of Indian communication studies. Okay, so it is not having plenary sessions or parallel sessions with n number of papers. We are attracted to this because of what James Carey said in 1988 about the need to redefine communication radically. Because being an American scholar, he was trained by this fact that American communication scholars had a disdain for things cultural. They have become obsessively empirical. We have to strike a balance between empirical knowledge and cultural knowledge. Something like culture cannot be dealt with in terms of numbers, as many of the papers, unfortunately, have dealt with social media cultures. Moment you have a prefix or suffix culture, numbers become the burden. After so many years as a senior professor in communication, Carey writes a book in which the first line goes like this. I wanted to understand communication at this point of time, and a wise man suggested, as I was reading serious literature on communication. This is after he graduated, after he became somebody in the academia, he wanted to revisit literature on communication, wherein somebody suggests, go and read John Dewey. This is how he opens his monumental chapter on a cultural approach to communication, which you should pick up and read. Why John Dewey? John Dewey said famously, and Carey did not understand the meaning of it. Of all things, communication is the most wonderful. This is a very deceptive statement, according to Carey, because it is a false statement. What is the statement? Of all things, communication is the most wonderful. According to Carey, this is either a false statement or a very mundane statement. Cannot be trusted. But this opens a huge door of opportunity for James Carey. When he was exceeding the middle point of his career and entering the fag end of his career, here is a great communication scholar who seeks to understand communication studies with a set of questions. And the fundamental question is, what is the contestation between communication as transmission, communication as ritual? And he passes the judgment in the book that we must embrace the ritual approach to communication, which is nothing but the cultural approach to communication, which can make us to see news not as information, social media scenarios not in terms of numbers, but as drama. According to Carey, news is not information, news is drama. This was long before news became a drama across the world on television. At least 15 to 20 years before news became a drama, Carey was saying, news is drama. when you look at it in a positive sense. So let us not study Indian television in a negative sense. If you are trying to understand Indian television as a site of ritual model of communication, you would not have negative associations about how our anchors are behaving, how our newscasts are done or made. So that's what I wanted to say. And my parting message is these are short-term, really short-term events. Any annual event like NMC is a very, very short-term event. And we are bombarded with so many encounters. Okay? And we are also made to recognize certain things. If it is an encounter, in the real sense, we see a new reality. If it is a recognition, we see a representation. This is the summation of the famous French philosopher Gilles Deleuze's understanding of reality as encountered, reality as recognized. So my message to any scholar is get away from the logic of representations, imageries, and recognition of something. You recognize something in your area for, particularly PhD scholars, and that is going to land you in a trap. You need to move beyond that stage of recognition, stage of misrecognition, and put yourself in the task of encountering a new reality. Just as Carey encountered when he was exiting the middle part of the career, a senior communication scholar who took a radically different stand from 95% of the American professors of 90s. That was an encounter. Carey was Carey because he was encountering a new reality of communication studies in US. So there is a lot we can do together as we lack a tradition rooted in native communication philosophies, ancient communication philosophies, as we are obsessively gravitating towards, I won't say Western. Western is a colonial term, a trap. So don't use these terms which continue to imprison us. And our higher education institutions, unfortunately, I don't want to name the institutions and the scholars in the post-independent era who have got us so many traps. One such trap is modernity. I too was a prisoner of this, and of late when I write, I'm very conscious in not using this term modernity, which is a very, very what to say, not a wrong term, but a trap which can put us in the same prism of Orientalism. So it was a new kind of Orientalism made possible by the post-independent Indian academia, particularly the discipline of history, where we only talk about political modernity. We don't talk about social modernity. So let us not get into these traps, these terms, this mainstreaming logic, these ideologies which are about getting us the imaginary relationships with the reality. So we are actually at a very opportune time, a golden moment in history, wherein we can leverage, if only we understand that these are traps, and if only we understand that we can bridge what our ancestors believed in as communication philosophies, and what we could not do over the last 100 plus years. Ever since Annie Besant wanted to teach University of Madras a lesson when she started the first certificate program in journalism. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, Dr. Ravindran, for your speech. And just to sum up with 2 lines on what he highlighted in the beginning of his speech, and he said that you can't travel until you pick up the path, and with that he actually quoted Gautam Buddha. He also said, he rather suggested the students that they should follow someone to create their own path. Thank you so much, Dr. Ravindran. And it was a wonderful experience to listen to the experts pouring their heart out. And let me iterate that it was a brilliant contribution to the pursuance of further scholarship on media and culture. And I'm sure that all these discussions would lead to concrete outcome and enhance our understanding of the subject. Now that we are approaching the end of the 6th National Media Conclave 2022, I gracefully hand over the baton to Mr. Manoranjan Panda, the conclave convener, who would help in distributing the certificates and would deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, Mr. Panda.
Thank you, Amrita. Now the time for presentation of certificates. First, I will start from the chairpersons and co-chairpersons of the parallel sessions. So I will first call upon Dr. Sudan Bhattacharya, the presentation chairman of the first presentation. Please come on the Next, the chairperson of second presentation, Vidya Deshpande. Are you available? Vidya Deshpande. Sometimes there at university, topic of practice. Next, Professor B. Subramaniam ma'am, with this on the guys. Next chairperson of the session, Dr. Kapil Mohan Maharashtra. Professor of University of Media Studies, Chandigarh University. Now I will introduce both chairpersons of the parallel sessions. Dr. Anurag Sahu. Are you here? Dr. Anurag Sahu from the School of Communication. Next, Harikrishna Behta, Assistant Professor from IIM's Dekanal. Harikrishna Behta, Assistant Professor of Mass Communication, IIM's Dekanal. Now it is Dr. Rajiv Pandit, Assistant Professor Professor of School of Communication, Chief University. Next, Gyananandhan Mishra, Assistant Professor of Birla School of Communication, Birla Global University. So on behalf, I request Satnam sir to receive his certificate and take on participation respect. Now I request Fatima Saringram, Assistant Professor of Public Administration Department, to receive the certificate. From the department certificate. He's a student of Public Administration Department and then Mass Communication. He is receiving on behalf of Fatima Saringram. Next, I will request the paper presentators of different parlor sessions. First, I will request Hitesh Sharma to receive his certificate. Hitesh Sharma. Next, Punya Oka, PhD research scholar from Fakir Mohan University, Baleshwar. Punya Oka. Next, Faid Mohammad, MD, PhD fellow, Pondicherry University. Faid Mohammad. Next, Dr. Ravi Kumar, Assistant Professor, Mahatma Gandhi International Hindi University, Wardha from Maharashtra. Dr. Ravi Kumar. Next scholar, Sri Lakshmi B, PhD scholar from Department of Electronics, Media and Mass Communication, Pondicherry University. Sri Lakshmi B. Next scholar from Central University of South Bihar, research scholar Sonal Singh. Research scholar Sonal Singh. Sonali Singh from Central University of South Bihar. Next, Devavani Mukherjee ma'am from Kolkata, a known media educator and practitioner of journalism. Devavani Mukherjee ma'am. Next scholar from Fakir Mohan University, Ms. Taba Yasir. Next scholar, this is scholar from Fakir Mohan University, Ms. Taba Yasir. Next scholar from Department of Media Science, Anna University, Chennai, A. Amla Arpeja. Next scholar from University of Mysore, Muhammad Swalik K. Research scholar from University of Mysore, Muhammad Swalik. Yes. Next scholar from Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies, Faridabad, Mihika Sengupta. Mihika Sengupta. Next scholar and assistant professor Dr. Amrita Chakraborty from Pandit Dindayal Energy University, Gandhinagar. Next scholar from Central University of Odisha, Koraput, Setulakshmi ES, research scholar of Central University of Koraput. So on behalf of Setulakshmi, she is receiving the certificate. Next, Arnav Chand, research scholar from Department of Journalism Mass Communication, University of Calcutta. Next scholar, Dr. Sekhar Magar, Deputy Chief Reporter of Daynik Bhaskar, Orange. Next scholar, Aparna Rastogi, Assistant Professor of National Institute of Fashion Technology, Bhubaneswar. Next scholar, Asita Bali ma'am, Associate Professor of Department of Media Studies, KIS University, Bangalore. Next scholar from Pokemon University, MS Nitinam Siram, PhD scholar of Journalism Mass Communication, Pokemon University. Next scholar, S. Lakshmi Priya from Department of Media Science, Anna University, Chennai. Scholar from Tezpur Central University, Tezpur, Vijay Chakraborty. Research scholar from Tezpur Central University. Ravi Ranjan Kumar, research scholar from Central University of South Bihar. Are you here? Ravi Ranjan Kumar, yes. Come. Next scholar, Supriya Sehlar, research scholar from Department of Journalism Mass Communication Science, Shivaji University, Maharashtra. Bharat C. Babu, Junior Research Fellow, Department of Electronics, Media and Mass Communication, Pondicherry University. Next scholar, Sashwati Panda ma'am, PhD scholar, Chitkara School of Mass Communication, Chitkara University, Punjab. Next scholar, Santosh Sibaji Sable from Maharashtra. Yashwanti Chauhan, Maharashtra Open University, Nasik. Santosh Sibaji Sable, sir. Next scholar, Mr. Ajay Suryavanshi, postdoctoral fellow, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Matawada University, Aurangabad. Ajay Suryavanshi. Next scholar from St. Xavier University, Kolkata, Jyoti Datta, research scholar from St. Xavier University. Next scholar from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Matawada University, Aurangabad, Nitin Mukund Gaikwad. Nitin Mukund Gaikwad, sir. Next scholar from Utkal University, research scholar Gayat Nayak. Sukayat Nayak, Research Scholar of Journalism Mass Communication, Utkal University, Bhubaneswar. Next scholar, Dr. Venugopal Gaur, Assistant Professor, Saint Philomena College, Autonomous, Mysore. Dr. Venugopal Gaur. So with this, we end the paper presentation certificates. Now, we want to felicitate the people who are behind the scene and who are the members of, some of them are the members of the organizing committee. So now I request State Head of Breakthrough India, Rukmini Panda ma'am, for supporting this conclave as collaborative partner and hosting a session on a very particular and vital topic today. So now I request Rukmini Panda ma'am to come on the dais and receive a token of respect and love from the organizing committee of 6th National Media Conclave 2022. Now I request Ambika Shankar Mishra, Associate Professor of Journalism Mass Communication from RT University. Now I request Nobi Ganga ma'am, Assistant Professor of Journalism Mass Communication, KIT School of Communication, KIT University. Now I request Norsing Machi, Assistant Professor of Journalism Mass Communication, RT University. Now I request Gayatri Patnaik ma'am, Academic Coordinator of Institute of Media Studies. I request Gayatri Patnaik ma'am, Academic Coordinator of Institute of Media Studies. Next I request Raghunath Mandal, Assistant Professor of Master in Social Work Department, Institute of Media Studies. They are the people who are behind the scene. They are working day and night for making this grand event a grand success. Next, Suchita Mohanty ma'am from Institute of Media Studies. Suchita Mohanty ma'am. Next, I request Pavitra Mohan Nayak, Administrative Officer from Institute of Media Studies. Now I request Pavitra Mohan Nayak, the Administrative Officer from Institute of Media Studies. Next, Vasviranjan Singh, Accountant of Institute of Media Studies, was looking after the back of his job. Next, Bhagyalakshmi Beura, the designer who makes creatives of different posters and the backdrop. Bhagyalakshmi Beura from the graphics team. Next, Bhajavan Sahu. Looks after the putting of and providing hospitality to research scholars and our guests and delegates.
So now it's the time to felicitate the conclave convener, Mr. Manoranjan Panda, who's had the work is responsible and for him only we have successfully completed the conclave. We need all your support. A big round of applause for Mr. Manoranjan Panda. So now is the time for vote of thanks. I request the conclave convener to give the vote of thanks.
Now I request Mr. Ma'am to receive this token of respect and Suchita Mahanti from Institute of Media Studies. Thank you all the representatives and delegates. So now the time to wind up this 3-day National Media Conclave with a official proposal vote of thanks. Good afternoon to our esteemed guests and delegates of this closing ceremony. It's never easy to say goodbye to people who care about. But having said that, everything ending is a new beginning. A new beginning can usher in as frequently as the spring season. Which embraces us every year. Therefore, this closing ceremony marks the beginning of new hope, new knowledge, and lays the foundation of for next year conclave that will be 2023. Before I offer vote of thanks to our guests of this closing ceremony, I just wanted to extend a huge thank you to our student volunteers, student delegates from different colleges, universities for whom we are organizing this media conclave every year. So an event of this dimension cannot be happen overnight. The wheels start rolling months in advance. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated, dedicated students, committee members, volunteers. I cannot thank everyone enough for their involvement they have shown and the willingness they have expressed to take on the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zones. In the last 3 days, they have shown capabilities, exhibited their skills in every possible manner, so a big thank you for them. While the finest minds in media education, literature, and communication came together for the 3-day mega event, a collection of academicians, research scholars, media professionals, communication experts shared the NMC platform and shared their rich experience with us. Keeping our request, Sasmit Patra, Honorable Member of Rajya Sabha, who is known as a noted academician and a youth icon of the state, for presiding this session and giving the closing remark and closing address to this ceremony. I thank you, Sasmit Patra, even though he is not present, so I convey big respect to Patra. Today, I had an opportunity to hear Dr. Sasmit Patra, Honorable Member of Rajya Sabha. His thoughts have enlightened us our mind and shown us a new path. I express my deep gratitude to you, sir, for your words of wisdom. Well, I don't need to propose customary vote of thanks to Professor Usrani ma'am, Professor Dipti Sanjay sir, Professor Gopal Ravindra, because they are our family members. They are the part of NMC family, and since 2017, the first media conclave until 6th edition, they have been with us. We also look forward similar support from them in our future initiatives, sir. Thank you for Professor Usrani ma'am, Professor Dipti Sanjay, Professor Gopal Ravindra for your untiring support. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the invited speakers in the 5 plenary sessions, the registered delegates, these are scholars from parts of the country for their active participation. I also thank all organizing committee members of the 6th National Media Conclave 2022. My sincere thanks to the Conclave Chairman and Director of Institute of Media Studies, Professor Upendra Padisar, for providing this immense platform and organizing it every year in the eastern part of this country. And as Real Darukar sir said, so this NLC is going to the Communication Congress in the near future. And we hope that this will happen soon. I express my deep gratitude to our value partner, Keele University, our collaborative partners, Central Consortium of Educational Communication, Department of Odia Language, Literature and Culture, Government of Odisha, Ministry of Culture, Government of India, Indian Council of Social Science and Research, Breakthrough India, publication partner, our corporate partners, media partners for their support and active involvement. Thank you, Amrita, for moderating this closing ceremony and so smoothly. Last but not the least, a big thank you to each one of you who made this annual media fest memorable for all of us. फिर मिलेंगे चलते चलते गुड बाय टिल देन टेक केयर एंड कीप फॉलोइंग सोशल मीडिया पेज फॉर न्यूज़ अपडेट्स हैप्पी न्यू ईयर 2023 in advance. Thank you. जय जगन्नाथ.
Thank you, Manoranjan. So now we got some inputs. What will be the next thing for the 7th National Media Conclave? We have got a lot of inputs from our senior professors, the founding members of the National Media Conclave. Shortly, we will inform you all the theme of the 7th National Media Conclave. Thank you. Once again, I thank you all for joining with us and warm greetings in advance for the new year, coming new year 2023. Thank you, Jai Jagannath.
और इसका